Welcome to Holy Kool-Aid Live. I apologize for the past stream just a second ago. It went up in flames. I finally got everything looking pretty. This is my third ever live stream. So for me, it was kind of exciting to see all like the fancy visuals and stuff and the live chat displayed in the video. But unfortunately, there was no audio coming through on Steve's end. And after a little bit of technical live on-air troubleshooting, we finally decided to just switch over to Google Hangouts for the live broadcast. Hopefully now it's working. Steve, can people hear you?
Well, let's try it now. Hello. Can you hear me now? I was trying to do sign language, but I haven't remembered anything from my sign language course years and years ago. So,
well, I'm going to have to actually pull up my live chat separately because it's not overlaid on the video anymore. But hopefully people can hear you. If not, then
well, they can hear. I didn't get the link to the live chat, so I'm looking right now. Matter of fact.
Okay. Well, I don't see that this video is showing up. So it says that it's broadcasting. But then when I go to my channel, I don't even see it.
It's broadcasting, but it's not on your channel. No, it should be. Sometimes it takes a few minutes to catch up. Usually after you hit start, it can take upwards of a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, here.
Well,
let's see if I can find it on your channel here.
I'm just going to take your word for it that it's actually working. I'd love to get a link so that I can post it and pin it to the top of the comments of the other live chat so that people who find their way to that one can see what happened and what went wrong.
They can actually, if they have the live streaming link with the live chat, if they can message it to me, then I could give it to you. Contact with right now that I know are watching, or at least we're watching the last one. So
okay,
on that.
Yeah, see, that's kind of my experience though with like YouTube live chat is that there's so many different tiny little things that go wrong with it. And like I don't shy away from technical stuff. Like I mean, if you've seen my videos, I love trying to figure out how to make stuff work visually, make it visually appealing. I love, I mean, I worked in IT for years, but for some reason with the live chats, there's always some little snag that goes off. And it's either, audio or video related or lag related or something.
They don't make it easy. There's no question about it. I've had to, do live feeds, and I had to do the same thing just the other day. I had a technical issue. So it's not you. It's the way that they've set it up. It makes it very counterintuitive, very user friendly, to say the least.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like there is now a bunch of people watching. I don't know why it wasn't showing up on my channel a second ago, but I'm going to go ahead and just post that link. But Steve, while I'm taking care of that business, why don't you tell the world a little bit about you? I have you on as I've been on your channel a couple of times. Steve, you're the host for everyone just now tuning in that didn't see the last video. You are the host of the Great Debate Community. And why don't you tell me about what that is and why you started it and what you guys do?
Sure. Basically, the Great Debate Community has been around quite some time as a whole. It was a collection of people that got together to have real-time discussions on things relating to science, philosophy, theology, and especially the Great Debate question, which we all know is dealing with the existence of God. That I started is on G+, which is basically a centralized location that I wanted to have everybody that was interested in these topics not only be able to come to have real conversations written, but actually at any time go into a live hangout and then talk about it with other people and have kind of a back and forth, an actual dialectic between diametrically different views, and then suss out who has the better argument. I think that listening to people give their argumentation and say, oh, well, this person put forth a good argument, this person put forth a bad argument. So the Great Debate Community in a nutshell is basically a group of experts, laypersons, it doesn't matter, just people that want to get involved in these conversations and talk about them. That's all it is.
Awesome. So you've had people on the Great Debate Community that are young earth creationists, like you had Kent Hovind debate King Crocoduck. You've had other creationists on as well. Are they members of the Great Debate Community you have a Google Plus group, or do you just kind of bring them in for debates to make it interesting?
King Crocoduck is a member of the Great Debate Community.
Kent
Hovind is not.
Kent Hovind is not.
It doesn't for flat earth. We allow in. However, there are certain guidelines. As a whole, we promote science in the Great Debate community. We are very pro-science. We're not there to advocate any position, right? If you're a flat earther, that doesn't mean you get to come in and put pro flat earth stuff. Now you can talk about it, but there's a limit there, obviously. We like arguments doesn't mean we have to sacrifice or as a whole the promotion of actual science over pseudoscience. But yeah, King Crocoduck's a member. Logic is a member. I think pretty sure. Yeah. Well, I know his wife's a member. I don't know if Logic is, but his wife is. And then most of the content creators like Genetically Modified Skeptic, Goddess Cranium. Yeah. And by the way, if you can give me the link to the live feed in the internal, I don't know why.
Just to the live chat?
Outside video, yeah.
Okay. I will get right on that. So one of the things that I wanted to do today, kind of while I'm sending you that, Steve, is I want to be able to pull people in to be able to have a conversation with us for the first time ever, to get patrons in to kind of give their feedback, ask their questions, you know, because oftentimes people feel kind of disconnected from content creators or from, you know, internet YouTubers or you know, bloggers and whatnot. And I want this to be about them as well as kind of the greater community as a whole. I want them to be able to give their comments. You know, what do they like? What do they not like? What would they prefer that we do? And what directions would they prefer that I take my channel in? I know that there's been some changes and some potential changes that didn't happen with Patreon. I want to kind of discuss that and how that's affected your channel, as well as how it's affected mine. And this doesn't have to, this will probably be about, I think, 2 hours long, maybe total, but really just as long as it's fun, as long as it's interesting, people are watching and feeling engaged and stuff, then we'll keep going. But if it starts getting boring, then we'll probably cut it off. But if you would like to participate, I'm going to interview Steve for about 15 more minutes or so. If you'd like to join afterwards and you're a patron of mine, that's at patreon.com/holykoolaid, then just shoot me a message through Patreon and I will give you a link to join. We'll get as many of you in as possible. And then as people start to, the chat starts to get full and more people are wanting to join, then we'll just kick people who have been in the longest to bring more people on. I think that's fair. What do you guys think, live chat?
Chat, because I've just asked somebody to give me the link and they're saying there's no live chat, but maybe it's just on their end.
There is a live chat.
No, that's not it.
Okay, sorry, I was just editing the old video so that it comes up and says that. Okay, pop out chat.
Popped up for a few people.
Okay, here is your link to the live chat, Steve.
So,
now you should be able to see things, so you're not completely in the dark. And I'll have mine up as well.
Yeah, but for the first video I was muted. The second one I'm in the dark. So yeah.
All right, I think we finally made it through all of the technical difficulties.
This is what happens when you have a live stream on the day Star Wars opens. See, this is what happens.
Although I would think that we wouldn't have any issues, you know, because not only have you managed to have how many thousand live streams over the course of the last few years, but you also, if I'm not mistaken, you just might be God.
I'm working on that. This is my agnostic heaven here. I've even got my little angel wings. I've got my halo. So, you know, this is my little window of the world looking down. I've done probably close to 1,000 hangouts, and I can tell you right now, you still have technical difficulties regardless. It's the way it's set up, and I wish it was a little more intuitive, a little more user-friendly. It's not. So it's going to take practice. People understand for the most part. They really do. They're really forgiving on that kind of stuff. They want to hear what you have to say, not worried about the technical stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So to everyone now who's just now joining, I know like for a little while it wasn't showing up at all in the comments. or in my channel, but I posted it in the old video in the description and in the comments below that. If you're already listening to this, you don't need that, but you can share it with your friends. Make sure that they're able to find it too.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get the actual watch link. The video itself doesn't seem to be coming up on your channel for some odd reason. But I'm like, I don't have the watch link. I have the chat link, which you just posted. But do you have the actual watch link?
Yes, because it says that there's only 11 viewers. I think
It's not. It didn't notify. I'm subscribed to you, and I didn't get a notification that you were even broadcasting. And I know the Geek Room didn't either because they're asking me for it as well.
okay. The watch link should be that right there. Yeah, I just posted it in the public chat, but I'm posting it here as well.
Okay, let's see what we got here.
Bear with us, guys. The other one, this is actually the first live stream that I have publicly, announced to everyone, promoted through social media and everywhere else. And then the one link that is supposed to have been the live stream that actually works, we had technical difficulties. I'm just going to tweet this out and post it on Facebook. Here's the new.
Yeah, you're live though. I can see it now, but yeah, a lot of people didn't transfer over.
Okay, so Steve, while I'm posting this, why don't you tell us a little bit about how long has the Great Debate community been around for?
Well, the G Plus has been around for about 1.5 years now. But as I said, the conversation has gone back a long ways. It goes all the way back to even before I even joined YouTube, which was on 2013. It goes back to the Magic Sandwich Show with DPR Jones. It goes back to the Lying Ghost Show. Res Rhetoric had hosted that a few times. It goes back to Nadia Vet Chambers' channel. It's some kind of incarnation has been around for a very long time. Debate Coliseum. What I wanted to do was, though, I wanted to take basically an amalgamation of everything and put it all together and say, look, this is going to be the centralized place that if you want to jump into this community and you want to jump into these topics, here is the place to go. This is how you get your feet wet. This is how you learn these types of arguments. And these are how you learn about the philosophical arguments, the scientific arguments, because we have such a eclectic group that anything you want to learn, there's somebody that's going to know about this topic. And so to be the centralized location for all those other things that they've all started, the predecessors before I came along and said, yep, let's get this all together and make something of it. Because I see a lot of potential with the Great Debate community. We've gone worldwide. The name is out there. As you said, it has very respectable scientists. It has amazing YouTube content creators. And I think that this first year, this a few months before when I first started it, are just preliminary to what we can get to in 2018.
Yeah, one thing that I like about it is, so whenever I make my videos, mine are, super short. I try to keep it kind of under 10 minutes and go laser focused on an idea. But a lot of times that's mostly just to kind of whet people's appetite, give them a little bit of taste of the flavor of a particular field that then they can go and learn about themselves. But you guys are more long form. What types of, you've had like 4-hour streams before or longer?
Yeah, I've had long streams. I mean, I've had actually 24-hour streams that we've done. 3 hours. And what we usually do is we'll get like a specific guest, like Hugh Ross. We'll get on Dr. Fuzz Rana, Dr. Mary Schweitzer. We've had PZ Myers, and we'll just pick a particular topic to discuss, and then just see how long it usually lasts. I'm trying to keep them down to about 2 hours nowadays, however, because people tend obviously to get very wary after 2 hours, after 2 hours, and they're not as engaged as they are initially. So I think it's optimal to really suss out a lot of these conversations and then bring it to a head and then close it out. But some of them require longer. Some of them are not easy topics, and they do require a little bit more time than just the 2 hours we allocate to it. So we run it over to 3 and 4 hour periods.
Yeah. So how many, you said you had how many PhDs in the Great Debate community now?
I've lost count. I know it's several dozen. The reason being is I can think of, if you want somebody has a PhD in geology, we got that, PhD in physics, many PhDs in biology, PhD in astrophysics, PhDs in PhDs in religious studies, fundamental particle physics. I mean, we've got a pretty good group of experts. And with the great debate community is I don't want people to think that they have to actually really know about these topics to join and be part of the conversation. They don't. There are people that have no knowledge of any of these things, but they come in to learn. They ask questions. I'd rather have somebody who really wants to learn something come in and just sit and listen and then ask questions than, have somebody who's a PhD that doesn't engage. So that's the whole point of the great debate community, is bring, regardless of your educational level, regardless of your understanding these topics, anybody can learn if they want to.
Yeah. Well, we've had, I've had conversations that I've joined in where, you might have someone who's, a pretty big content creator, but then you also have people who just want to join the chat. And I like that, how it kind of makes it more approachable. It's not a massive channel yet, but I think I've seen a fair amount of growth and a fair amount of interest, and the people who you do bring in are very engaged. You have, when you put out a live stream, you might have, 150 people listening on average at any given time, and they're engaged, they're talking, they're going nuts in the chat, they're joining the stream, and I think it's great to be able to have these long form conversations that aren't limited to such a short attention span.
Yeah, and the big thing that I wanted to put forth is that regardless if you have a channel that has 1 million subs or you have a channel that has 1 sub or no subs, if you have something to say, you can come to the great community and talk. I really don't want to give preferences to the much larger channels. I mean, yes, occasionally I'll give a special, guest, as you would be a special guest, or we've had some pretty large channels on. King Crocoduck, special guest. But as a whole, if King Crocoduck or you just pop in, everybody's treated the same. If they've got something to say it. I don't want people to think that, oh, well, they only allow these big content creators, or you don't have 1 million subs, so why bother going in? No, anybody's welcome to come into these conversations, and that's what's great about it, because a unique opportunity for anybody to, like you said, to get in touch with content creators and give their opinions and run arguments. You've come in and you've had a debate just recently on my channel.
Yeah, I kind of bombed that debate. I don't want anyone to check out that video, but
you didn't bomb it. No, you didn't bomb it at all. Trust me, I moderate a lot of debates. Nobody bombed that debate. It was just you guys couldn't really settle on terminology. That's all it was. It was just you guys were just coming from different angles. So there was no winner, there was no loser. It's just the way it was. But you know what? You took the opportunity to seize it. You went in. You had a great presentation. So no, don't think that you did bad at all. You didn't.
Well, I think that our numbers of people watching are actually going to finally go up, because I realized that I had it set to, I would say YouTube had it set, but I take full responsibility and blame. The live stream was set to unpublished or unlisted. So people were joining through the links from the other one, but it wasn't sending out a notification. So hopefully now I'm seeing the number rise from 20 to 30, and more people are flowing in. There's more engagement in the live chat. So welcome everyone who's just now joining. Steve of the Great Debate Community is joining me now. He has a channel that's basically, he has long form content, a ton of different highly intelligent people, from content creators to PhDs to you name it. They'll talk about big questions, philosophy, science related. Is there a God? And it's one of the best places to go if you feel like maybe you would like to get a little bit smarter. Then that's the place for you.
Or just hang out and just talk to people. And by the way, I think this is the 3rd time I've been introduced. This is great. First time no sound, time no video. Now it's working.
Yeah, well, the 3rd time's the charm, right?
I'm not kidding. I don't know if it's hubris or moxie to have it out this on the same day as Star Wars comes out. I love it. I mean, that's just like, we're competing with Star Wars here, people.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to talk with you about, Steve, is as a fellow content creator, I've noticed that YouTube, and if you've at all have been participating in the greater YouTube scene or community, you've noticed that it was earlier this year, there was the adpocalypse, where basically a couple of companies came along and said, we don't want our ads showing up on controversial content or white supremacist videos or whatever, which was not even really an issue. It was Like there was like some channel that had like 100 views and it was like Coca-Cola's ads showed up or whatever. But the backlash from it was massive. So a lot of us content creators took a massive hit. And I remember putting out a notice to my patrons about it and saying, hey, like, you know, this is really hitting my YouTube ad revenue hard. They stepped up their game. They pitched in to pledge and support through Patreon. And I'm grateful for that. And then a few months later, then now what YouTube is doing is they're soft censoring and shadow banning channels that are controversial content. And so what we're seeing again now is channels that have, you know, maybe content related to atheism or to, you know, LGBTQ issues or trans issues or anything even remotely controversial, politics, stuff related to that. They're seeing that their total view count is being just plummeting. So they might get a third of the views that they got before. And if you go through my old videos, I might have a video from back when I had 10,000 subs that has 200,000 views. Now I'm lucky if I'm able to get 20,000 from my psychic videos. And it's just kind of my core audience who are really tuning in and watching those videos, and a few people who stumble across it from Reddit. I don't know if you're getting that with your channel, but I'm certainly seeing it. Other content creators are seeing that. Do you see that as much with live content?
Yeah, this is what I think of the apocalypse. It actually like literally triggers me because I'm triggered, people. I'm triggered. It affected everybody across the board, but I realized it did affect the larger content creators, obviously more profoundly. But yes, my views dropped down considerably. Like for example, I would have like 30,000 views on a video, like a debate, and yet nowadays they're back down to 2,000, 4,000. And some of your videos were hundreds of thousands, and I know that it's not promoting us any longer. And here's the thing that I actually did the other day. Had about, I would say, a quarter or more of my videos demonetized with the limited monetization. And I decided to do a little test. I actually got rid of all the metadata, all the tags, you know, kind of a little bit of a title of the thing. And then I put talking about puppies and kittens playing with strings. Talk about puppies and kittens playing with strings. And guess what? Those last 4 videos that I've done that, monetized. Because maybe YouTube doesn't want to be demonetizing videos talking about puppies and playing with strings. But it was really strange because that was okay. No, they didn't. But you mentioned anything beyond that. If I put the word God in, or I put the word atheist in, or I put the word in theist or anything, Christian, seems to come up demonetized right off the bat before I even start my stream.
Well, you know, I had a collaboration with, I'm sure you're familiar with Godless Cranium, right? I put out a video yesterday. Who he had a video, and literally it was the most unoffensive video you can possibly imagine. Where it was the title of the video was, it was like Imagine a World, and it was imagining a world without religion. And they just list through certain things that, you know, religions have been responsible for, and some of it was very vanilla, like imagine a world where we, you know, demand evidence rather than taking dogma just on faith. And some of it was, you know, imagine a world where, you know, women in, you know, Muslim countries can feel the wind through their hair. And it's like, it's not offensive. It might be controversial, but it's not, you know, it's very vanilla. And people went in and false flagged that. And his, you know, now that video isn't being shown, you know, there's certain countries where it won't be listed. YouTube's not promoting it. The comments are restricted. And while he didn't get a strike on his channel, it just shows that it's a broken system. And if you take that, you know, channels can just be false flagged to oblivion. And then when he asked other YouTubers like me to mirror that video, and I put it out, and before I even hit publish, it's demonetized instantly, and I have to submit it for manual review, then you know that something is broken.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
it's funny because that video, there was nothing in that video that it would be remotely be considered to be well, I mean, yes, it was controversial, but it was not against terms of service or anything like that whatsoever. It was mild by all stretch of the imagination. It was just putting forth what if, a narrative for it, and it was brilliantly done. It was a great video.
Well, and I compared it in mine to John Lennon's song Imagine. And I'm like, why isn't that demonetized? It's exactly the same idea.
Democracy. Man, countries have a right to limit what they put in their own country. I get that. That's not YouTube's fault. That's the countries. They say certain speech cannot be spoken about, especially religion. It's unfortunate, but that's the way of the world in certain countries, and that should change. But I think reacts in these things, and for them to demonetize it, and just I saw how many countries that, okay, some of these countries don't even have those kind of rules. Why are they blocking in those countries whatsoever?
Well, and the fact that they would limit the reach in the US, and that they would disable comments and disable upvotes and everything else, I think is pretty disgusting. But hopefully after YouTube reviews it, then they'll roll that back. But I'm not convinced, because my videos where I've talked about Islam, and I don't I'm not a crazy far right radical, murder or evict every single person who has a different idea than me. Like, I'm not that type of person. Like, if anything, I'm trying to fight for the rights of women and the rights of minorities. And I look at these people who are oppressed by religion, and my approach is one of compassion. I'm like, hey, how can we help these people? How can we fight for human rights? But the videos that I've made that have done that they're not just demonetized, but when I submit it for manual appeal to YouTube, they deny it.
I haven't lost an appeal yet. All the ones I've actually appealed have been remonetized, but there's two problems with that. One, obviously you lose out on all the people that initially watch it. They're done. So you don't get anything for that. And second, limited monetization, as you pointed out to me, and I did some research on it, and you were absolutely correct, that metadata doesn't go away. They're not promoted, and it just stays on there. And so you throw that little yellow symbol up there, it's going to be on that video forever. It may go back to green, and you may still get ads, but it's not going to be promoted as it once was. And that's unfortunate for larger content creators, because when they put a video out, obviously such as yourself, those first
yeah. Well, the crazy thing too, I had a video called Save Amna, and it was basically about a girl in Saudi Arabia who's running for her life. And I'm just saying the system's broken. I wasn't even, just bashing, Islam. I was talking about the male guardianship system in Saudi Arabia and how it's a human rights violation. That video I submitted to Reddit, not just atheism Reddits, but like, I think it got so far up that one of my friends, who's not even an atheist or a part of the atheist community, who was a coworker of mine back at Texas A&M, wound up seeing it in r/videos, and it got like 25,000 views just from Reddit alone. Now, normally a video that has that kind of view velocity and that's trending that much on external sources, YouTube would promote like crazy, because they're like, this people want to see this. But not anymore. Now there's a level of soft censorship where you put out a video like that, and it's not just instantly demonetized, but that video was the one that failed manual review. And since then, I think it's sat right around, between 25 and 30,000 views, and it has not been, I can see where my views are coming from, and they're all external. There's maybe a couple that YouTube recommends to people who are already subscribers, or I'll show up in the search console.
Yeah, when YouTube, the way it looks at it is that it looks for those external links. When people share a video, like let's say they go to the video and how all those icons come up and you can share it. If you share it through Reddit, you share it through Facebook, you share it however the means you do, that URL is tracked. And when people are sharing that becomes trending. YouTube promotes that. Promoting this stuff any longer. This is why I have looked at numbers. I've looked at yours. I've looked at other channels. They're less than what they used to be after this whole ad apocalypse. And I do think you're actually absolutely right. I think it is because YouTube is self-censoring these certain channels. Absolutely. It's a blacklist of some type. Yep, no question about it.
Well, and I'm not sure if it's on a video by video basis or if it's on a channel basis, but I know that, my channel tags, I have I think atheism is one of my channel tags, which I'm sure isn't helping me out. I look at my video tags, and I don't have any, horrible thing that goes against YouTube's terms of service. I don't have anything that violates any kind of laws, but it still winds up getting, shadow banned.
We've known
So
types of things like this. Pendulums go back and forth, right? And maybe the pendulum right now is swinging far this way, but YouTube is trying to work on their algorithm, so they say, so it learns more efficiently and it doesn't as limited ads as much as it used to. And I think it's trying to teach it, okay, here's the difference between a ISIS video promoting, people to come join them, as opposed to people talking against Islam. Because if YouTube tries to censor speech where people cannot even problems with like Islam, or like that video with Imagine No Religion, there was no hate speech involved with that whatsoever. To determine the difference between hate speech and just having a conversation on something, because if we can't have conversations on things, why bother having any of the YouTube videos? Because that's what people want, is a conversation. They want their videos to be talked about, or else they wouldn't put the videos out there in the first place.
I'm kind of almost thinking that so much of this might be a kind of a political backlash to, the Trump presidency, to the rise of the alt-right, to, so much of the polarizing vitriol that has occurred in the US political system in the last, year and a half. And I think that this might be YouTube's pushback. But what they don't realize is that so many people who have been pushed to the far right, the way that you counteract that is not to censor them. It's to bring up moderates in the middle who can appeal to them, who can maybe talk a little bit of sense and show how that extreme maybe isn't the best route that they should take.
I completely agree. Matter of fact, this last year, this 2017, there has been that have been coming up that I find to be a lot more moderate. Such as creators like yourself and Rachel Oates, Scottish Cranium, and even though they have opinions, I mean, I don't mean that be derogatory, but you have your own political views, you have your own beliefs on things, but you do so in a very effective, moderated way. And I think that fostered, because as you said, when you have extremes, those things kind of go to the wayside. People want to see people more talking in the middle and bringing sides together and talking about it from a very more intellectual approach. And I think that you especially do a wonderful job in your videos for that, because they're not slamming on people. Your videos are not saying, oh, look how, you're a religious, let me mock you kind of thing. It's, hey, let me explain to you why these reasons, or why the arguments are bad. Just be fostered. That's the kind of conversation that needs to be had. If somebody says, hey, you know what? I don't agree with them something. Okay, great. Challenge them on it.
Yeah. Well, to me, I think one of the greatest tragedies of thinking, if you will, is that we think of everything in black and white, and we think that it's either it has to be religion is all 100% bad or all 100% good. Or I was having this conversation with this guy just earlier today where he was basically, we were talking about net neutrality, and he was saying that all government legislation is this horrible thing, and you should just surrender to the will of the free market, and companies will all everything will work out in the end. And I'm like, wait a second, I don't think that the government is some, so for every branch of government, has your best interest in mind, that every political, party or politician is, necessarily the way to go in every situation. But I'm also not naive enough to think that businesses never screw over consumers, and that we don't have to have consumer protection bills in place to prevent against things like putting lead in gasoline, or to protect the environment, or to prevent to have antitrust laws, or to because it's a check and balance on power. And things are there's so much more nuanced, and there's so many more gray areas. And I don't claim to know how everything works. I could be wrong on a lot of these issues, but I think the most important aspect is to realize that this stuff isn't just black and white. It's not just like either the government's good and businesses are bad, or vice versa. And this applies to religion, this applies to politics, this applies to so many areas of thinking, where we have to find the gray areas, and we have to be able to kind of have a nuanced conversation where we look at this stuff on a case-by-case basis with more facts rather than just bumper sticker politics and just some hateful bashing of the other side.
Oh, I completely agree. And that's why, you know, people just put out like tropes, and people just put out this mantras that they've been getting into these subjects, and they go, okay, I'm going to go watch this particular video, and they just parrot what they hear. And I find those to be non-conducive to actually having a real dialogue. The people that want to have a dialogue, like you said, recognize that some of these things are not black and white. And to say that they're so simplistic, well, why don't you understand this? Is because these things are not easy subjects. These are not things that most people generally even think of. These are complicated subjects that spread across many different types of platforms. And so, like you said, with the net neutrality and all these other things, I honestly think that the government, as it stands now, may not be in our best interest. We have to assume that there's certain things that they do that are beneficial to us. But you know what? The best thing is the checks and balances. And the whole net neutrality, there is a check and balance there, because even though the FCC has now, that it still has to go through Congress. It's another check and balance, right? So there are systems in place. Yeah, I think that anybody thinks that if we had blind capitalism with no checks and balances whatsoever, we would be screwed over left and right.
Well, and
traditionally
we have been, you know, if you look back at, you know, the industrial era where you would have kids in coal mines that are, you know, dying at 12 because they're crushed by something, you know, get their arms torn off and stuff. There was no safety precautions. They were just a part of the bottom dollar margin. And I don't, you know, as a small business owner, I don't want massive amounts of legislation to prevent me from being able to make a profit. But I also think that there need to be certain blocks in place to prevent people from getting royally screwed by corporate interests.
And that's where the checks and balances comes in. When it comes to OSHA and health and safety, most of the things are there for a reason. Now, they do go overboard sometimes. I've seen some weird stuff in my career. Like, for example, one time OSHA had actually taken red bricks, and labeled them as hazardous materials. So, I mean, there is an extreme that people can go. But I think that, like I said before, the pendulum kind of swings back and forth. And eventually, over a period of time, it kind of centers in the middle. And sometimes it sucks having to wait for that.
Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to do here in just a minute is I'm going to open this Hangout up to patrons. If you want to come in, if you have questions for Steve, if you have questions for me, if you want to, you know, participate in this conversation, I'll shoot you a link. Just shoot me a message through Patreon. If I don't get a message from you guys here pretty soon, then I'm just going to post it to my Patreon wall so that any patrons can join. And, yeah, at any level, any patron, any pledge, this is your way to connect and engage. All you need is Google Hangouts and a microphone, and you're welcome to join in the conversation. So in the meantime, Steve, what are your plans, your long-term plans for the Great Debate community? I know you've had a couple of big Hangouts where I think you had a 3-part debate with King Crocoduck and Kent Hovind, which was rather interesting. I thought it was a pretty big deal. Where would you like to take things?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. But before I continue, I want to wish everybody a Hovind Christmas real quick. Can I? So I got the little baby Jesus and a dinosaur real quick. So Hovind Christmas, because you were talking about Ken Hovind. So.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Can Cthulhu come?
Yeah, I like Cthulhu. In the Great Debate community, I see great things next year, and we are expanding tremendously. We are starting a podcast that's the Great Debate Community Presents. It's called the Non Sequitur Show, that I'm doing with a kind of celebrity chef friend that we're going to be launching, I believe, on January 14th with some celebrities, and talking about various topics dealing with science and theism and philosophy. Be also a platform, just like the Great Debate community is, for other newcomers to come in and launch their channels or talk about their channels. Because I really want everybody in the Great Debate community that has a channel to be promoted. I believe in the adage that rising tide lifts all ships. And so if I get more subs and more people listen to that podcast, Geek Room gets more subs. Rachel gets more stuff. Everybody that has been talking about these topics and that has awesome content, they get more subs out of it, because there has to be at least one place where anybody can jump into and go, hey, you know what, I'm not going to get on this channel right away, but I can go to the Great Debate community and I can go on Steve's channel and boom, stuff, we'll promote you. I promoted Prophet Azad the other day. Great guest, by the way. I've had Genetically Modified Skeptic. I've had Rachel Oates. Obviously, Apologia. Apologia had 100 subs when he came to the Great Debate community.
So basically, you're like Oprah of the YouTube world. You're like, you get a sub, you get a sub, everybody gets a sub.
In fact, I mean, I love Apologia so much. He's like my little role model. Quick, Apologia, I think is going to be like the #1. It's going to be a toss up between you and Apologia, but
so to everyone who's not familiar with who all we're talking about, those are all basically YouTubers, other YouTubers, atheists and secular activists, free thinkers. Apologia has a channel similar to mine where he talks about these issues, has a little animated character. But go on, Steve.
Exactly. And that's the big thing. I promote channels regardless of, if I agree or disagree. I think it's about the content. And I think that channels such as yourself and Prophet Azad, I really like listening to. I really think they put forth an incredible amount of information that's both informative and educational, especially like Apologia with his young creationism. My channel, debunking, that's how I actually got on the internet. But I found that there were people that actually did it much better than I did. And so I'm leaving it up to them, even though I still know the arguments and I still hold my own, debunking or creationism, that niche. Well, they're taking it over. But I want to have the niche that about these subjects, because they can go watch one of your videos or they can go watch Apologia's, and then they can come over to my channel and say, hey, I watched this video by Koolaid. Discuss it. Okay, great. Let's talk about it.
Now, Steve, what is your background personally? How did you become interested in these topics? What's your field of expertise?
My background specifically was I was a nuclear propulsion person in the Navy. I studied D2G reactor systems and S1C, and I actually trained people to operate nuclear power plants. 6 years after I got out, I went into retail. I was a store manager for Radio Shack for about 6 years, a customer service manager for Kohl's for 7 years, a service manager for years, an operations manager for Big Lots for a little while. So I did a lot more in retail than anything else. But when I got into YouTube, I always loved science all my life, the philosophy or the theology aspect of it. So I had to just dive into it and realized that it's complicated. In fact, I think philosophy is a lot more complicated than science in some ways. Not in that when it comes to learning the philosophy, but I did take astronomy in college. I took biology. I took physics, and right.
How much do you think because you put out several live streams a week and each one of them is long form content. How much do you think that that's contributed to, because when I join your hangouts, I feel dwarfed by, as far as like the amount of stuff that I know when it comes to philosophy or complex aspects of like chemistry or astrophysics. I feel dwarfed just by what you know, but you would consider yourself a layman. But how much of that is just stuff that you've soaked up from spending hours and hours and hours talking to experts in this community? And how much do you think that that is something that you have to offer to other people who are interested in these?
Well, I don't want anybody to feel like they're dwarfed. Yeah, I really don't want anybody to think. One of the criticism, and it's a fair criticism, people have laid against the Great Debate community. It's not so much a criticism, but that they're scared to jump in. They're afraid because they're like, oh, these people know all this stuff, and that is something I want to overcome. I don't want people to think that way. Stuff years ago. I mean, this was going back many years, and yes, listening to these experts has been one of the greatest educations anybody can get. Not have sat and been in these hangouts and not gleaned something from somebody at some point. And I've had so many people contact me on Facebook and G+ saying, hey, Steve, watched your thing today. Never heard of that before. I looked into that. Oh, you found this. I never heard of that channel before either, or I've never heard of this. And they learned something. That they have to know about these topics to join the conversation. They don't. I'd rather, like I said, I mean, I'm happy to have somebody just come in and say, hey, but hey, I want to learn more. Great. You have an interest in it.
Yeah, the fun
That's what
thing
I'm looking
too
for.
is, when I make a video, I might take a creationist video saying evolution is wrong because of, and a lot of times it's the simple stuff that we've heard a million times, like, if we come from monkeys, why are there still monkeys? But other times, I might take a video and I have a month to respond to it, and I can do the research, and I can sit down and figure out why they're wrong, and learn the biology behind it. Or whereas you're doing it live on the fly, but you have people, you might bring 6 or 8 or however many people into your hangout, and who are experts in a particular field, but then you might also have someone who believes that a literal Noah's Ark happened. And when you have what?
Well, that happens quite frequently. We have one person come in and think literally Noah's Ark happened, and then I didn't.
But I like how you're able to have a highly intelligent conversation on the fly. So you might have someone, a creationist who can easily fleece a crowd of uneducated people by saying, well, actually, evolution's impossible because yada yada and this with the electron transport chain doesn't allow for whatever. And you have people there who are biologists and who are chemists who know exactly how it works and know exactly where they're wrong, who can call them out on it on the spot. Has it taken a long time for you to find all of these people, or did they just kind of come to you?
Yeah, well, both. I've actually had people message me saying, "Hey, Steve, I have a PhD in this. I'd like to join the conversation." I had a particle physicist not too long ago do that. I've had many people that say, "Hey," even Oates, he has a PhD in theology. He's from RTB, Reasons to Believe. He messaged me out of the blue a long time ago and said, "I've been watching your stuff. I want to join." Okay, great. It has taken a while to together, yes. But as far as like the knowledge level, again, I really want to emphasize, if you just have an interest in these topics, come on in. You want to learn about the electron transport chain. For example, I had a video that I did on that because, as you know, somebody was out there putting forth some weird intelligent design argument using the electron transport chain and ATP synthase. And I had biology back in college, but again, of any real consequence. But I made a video on it, but what I did was I ran it by the experts. Right? I want to make sure that my content is correct, and then they check it over. And I find that's something in the Great Debate community that most people do. I know a lot of content creators. They say, "Hey, I'm doing this video. Should they be the best person to kind of evaluate it, check?" So I want people that are in the Great Debate community, the content creators, that people can trust them because there's a check and balance system in the network of channels that's involved in the Great Debate community. I think that's important. I think when people put out videos and they don't run it by anybody, seem to have a lot of people in the comment section going, that's just not quite right, or, "Oh man, you totally got that one wrong." Especially if it's on a topic like biology or physics, because these are not easy things to wrap your head around sometimes. I had to do a presentation on polonium halo subjects to deal with in young Earth creationism, because who the heck knows about polonium halos? Well, I happen to know about the topic, so I did a presentation on that, but I still ran it by a physicist. By the way, we got two more physicists coming in to do helium diffusion rates next month.
Awesome.
Dr. Lorche, right, for the talk origins.
Yeah, see, I can call myself an expert in this field because I know that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Smooth and rough reticulum. There we go.
Hey, just real quick, in the chat, I want to give a couple shout outs. It looks like we have the Geek Room watching, as well as Rachel Oates. Go check out both of their channels after this. Shannon, who is, I believe, the other part of Pelagia. The
Shannon Q
channel. Yeah, Shannon. Wait, what did I say?
I don't know. Yeah, Shannon Q.
The Resistance podcast is listening. I was on their show a while back. So yeah, thank you everyone so far for joining. So far, I don't see any. I don't know if my phone app isn't pulling it up, but I don't see any messages through Patreon. I'm just going to post it to Patreon if anyone wants to join. But also, if you would like to join the chat right now, you can do a super chat. Those are always appreciated. If you have questions, we'll answer the super chats. And if you pledge, I don't know what seems fair, $5 or more, we'll bring you on for a few minutes to talk to us. Just shoot us like your Twitter handle or something, and we'll message you a link.
I think Rachel wanted to drop in as moral support.
Yeah, Rachel, if you would like to join, then we can maybe people won't pay to talk to me, but they'll pay to talk to Rachel. So
yeah, I wasn't trying to be sexist or anything on that, but I just figured, hey, it couldn't hurt, right? Somebody else in here that has a pretty decent channel.
I don't know if she's still watching.
She gave up. Yeah, she gave up.
Should I tweet her? So in the meantime, Steve, we can have you entertain us by talking about Bell's theorem.
Bell's theorem. Oh my goodness! What's funny is that hangout we had on Bell's theorem and local realism didn't go the way I wanted. Obviously, we were woefully underprepared for it, and even King Crocoduck. We didn't have time to really get into it, and so please forgive that particular hangout on Bell's theorem. But people wanted to know what Bell's theorem for some reason is, and basically all Bell's theorem states is that there's no hidden variable model that can satisfy all in the system. So there are various ways of looking at quantum mechanics. There's the Copenhagen interpretation, the multi-world interpretation, the what's called pilot wave, the Brahm interpretation. But we are going to have a hangout on that one day, guys. So trust me, we're do a presentation on it. It's not an area that I know that much about. That's why I wanted to get into it myself. And I figured King Crocoduck, this is his area, but it was ill-planned. So I apologize for that.
Well, it looks like Rachel says that she would join, but she looks a little bit scruffy because she just got out of the shower.
That's going to be a problem because why?
And she's in her pajamas, but we don't discriminate, so.
Yeah.
Also,
come on in, Rachel.
Yeah, we'll shoot you the link.
Special because I'm a spanner in her live chats, and I don't know how many spanners she gave out, but I don't think there's that many.
Well, I tweeted her the link. I don't know if
she has such a well-behaved live chat, though.
Wait,
he gets out of line in Rachel's live chat. You go to my live chat. Oh, it's Troll City sometimes. Oh, everybody just
did she like outsource to Steve Shives to just have his ban hammer blocking everyone that?
It's a bot that does it. You know what? I didn't even know I was banned by him until I actually went to go look, and I'm like, I've never said word one to the guy. He's blocked me.
Yeah,
He blocked.
See, when it comes to that whole debate, it always seems like within the YouTube atheist community, there's always, the conversation gets hijacked by, social justice warriorism stuff and feminism and all of those things. It's like when I had my debate with Gret on your channel where like we couldn't define our terms and we couldn't agree on the terms that we wanted to debate. Like I hear people say like, are you pro-feminism or anti-feminism? And I'm like define your terms, like first wave, second wave, third wave. Like even Milo, who calls feminism cancer, says that he's a second wave feminist.
Yeah, no, totally. You're breaking up a little bit, sorry.
I think, in the Muslim world, yeah, we should have, rights for women should definitely be far strand further along than they are right now. When it comes to social justice, I think a lot of people who care about social justice to a certain extent don't necessarily agree with the tactics used by zealots who deplatform or who send SWAT teams to people's house through fake calls. It's called swatting, or who dox people, or a lot of this stuff is really foul play, but it does seem like the conversation tends to get hijacked by stuff like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you my official position on it, which I really do. But I will give you my position on SJW because we just literally in the Great Debate community opened up a new section called social commentary, which is for politics and SJW stuff, because we only had 3 sections other than the admin. We had science, philosophy, or theology. Those are what we. But I do take the title anti-feminist, but I want to explain why. It's because I only am against those things that you're talking about, the 4th and 5th wave extreme social justice warrior. We were talking about 2nd wave and egalitarianism and equal rights. Absolutely. I think everybody in the right mind would be those things, right? I mean, for people to think that women are somehow less than men in any way, I can't imagine that mindset. I don't think human less because of their sex, their gender, their race, anything. I don't like the way the movement has gone. I don't like what feminism is now as probably as it was, years ago. Like I have a great friend, Jade West, who's a feminist. We agree on everything, literally. I think pretty much except for Reagan. I like Reagan, but she doesn't. But when it comes to the social aspects, we agree. But she's a feminist. I'm an anti-feminist. It's just a label because it identifies where we stand to way we want to perceive ourselves when people are saying, oh, look at all these SJWs that are doing what you're saying. I don't want to be associated with them. Right? I don't believe in any of that stuff, but I certainly believe in egalitarianism. I certainly believe in 2nd wave feminism. Sure. Does that make sense? So it's a label.
Yeah, but because the terms are so muddied and the definitions are so all over the place, then I don't. We just got a super chat for 666 from Travis Bell. That's awesome, Travis. Do you have what's the best way to shoot you the link to join the conversation if you'd like to?
Is there?
We can tweet it to you, or if you have like a Facebook profile or something, or
you give us 666. We'll go to the health thing.
I can go to his channel and shoot him a YouTube private. YouTube's private messaging system though is crap, and I don't even think it's not letting me with him.
Not that great. It's not that great.
But anyways, but yeah, on these issues, I tend to avoid them a little bit on my channel, and maybe I shouldn't, because I try to provide a nuanced position, which I think is really needed for this conversation. But from the beginning, I started Holy Kool-Aid as a way to talk about religion and to promote science, because my goal for humanity is, maybe if we can break through this crazy level of tribalism that we all seem to stoop to, maybe we can rise to something greater. Maybe we can become something greater. Maybe we can survive the impending nuclear apocalypse and actually become a multiplanetary species and fight against entropy. And who knows? Like everyone says, oh, you're crazy. You're too much of an optimist in that regard. But I'm like, we never know until we try. And if we're sitting here muddled down in these bickering disputes about, which God is the real God, rather than just looking at like, hey, this is what science can do for us, and these are the areas that is being hampered and hurt, then I think we could be so much further along. But all these political discussions, I feel sidetracked. It derails the conversation. And
that those things will suck itself out over a period of time. Your focus is on the sciences, and possibly as a whole, religion might diminish over a period of time, because we've seen it happen. I mean, let's look at it very practically. Religion from 200 years ago is not the same as religion today. There is a lot more secularism involved today than it was 200 years ago and then 500 years ago. So there is a diminishing aspect to religion. Now, that might just be a natural consequence, right? My channel is not set up to advocate against religion. I'm not an anti-theist, but natural consequence to us learning more about the universe scientifically, and I do believe very strongly to adhere to methodological naturalism, then maybe religion will just go by the wayside naturally rather than try to force removal of it. Because I think right now, if people try to move religion as a societal whole, they're going to run into problems. I don't think that the world is ready to foster that kind of thing. I understand the motive behind it. Not saying there's not reasons why you should get rid of religion in some ways, because obviously there's some horrific things that happen in religion, but there are some decent things as well. Well, but it's one of the things we just have to wait and see what happens as we learn more about science. But science is going to be the tool by which to see which those things occur.
Yeah, a lot of.
Would you agree?
I would say, oh, hey, Rachel just joined us.
Who's Rachel?
Hey,
Rachel,
looks like
your
Rachel
hair's
just got a
wet.
shower.
I know. I'm really scruffy. I'm sorry.
You're
Wet.
fine.
It's Hanukkah, so I got the Jew curl going on. And yes, I'm Jewish. My mom's Jewish. I can say that. It's the Hanukkah thing, the little curl for Jews.
So Steve, I'm trying to come up with some creative way to say something that about the Jews, but I can't like find a non-anti-Semitic way to say it, and I'm not anti-Semitic.
You can't
so
do it. I'm Jewish. My mom's Jewish, so I can be anti-Semitic as I want, but I'm not. I'm very pro. Rachel's not. You're Goyim, right, Rachel? You're Goyim?
What? I'm what?
Gentile? You're not a non-Jew.
I don't know. Like this whole concept of like Jews being almost like a race of people was kind of like alien to me until I started watching American films, and then apparently you can tell what people like if people are Jewish from how they look. I didn't know that was a thing, so I've no idea what I am.
People in the live chat says your hair is better than mine. Okay, well, yeah, that's okay. Wow.
See, what I never got on that whole thing is, the idea of like the Jew. I'm like, as if they're one type of like homogenous blob, as if there aren't both, there are Jews who are working in politics who are, mass media moguls. And then there's also the anti-prepper conspiracy theorist crazy Jews as well. Like to think that they're all
village, right? I mean, there's all kinds of different things. Oy vey.
Yeah. But anyways,
we got a whole bunch of Aunt Rachel now, so become a patron, or if you're a patron, message. I mean, you're getting 2 for 1 here.
If you would like to join, if you're a Holy Koolaid patron, if you're not a Holy Koolaid patron, you can instantly become one. Just right here, you can pledge as little as $1 a video and join the conversation. Come talk with us in the hangout. If you're already a patron, shoot me a message and I will give you the link to join.
Yeah, get something else in here because it's not going to get brutal real quick as Rachel and I disagree on which is the best doctor. So
yeah, that's true. But
it gets ugly real fast.
Also,
this weird David Tennant thing, not appreciating the mastery of Tom Baker. So
Travis Bell, who pledged 666, said that he's driving right now. We will be on for a little while, so if in a half hour or so, from now, if you still want to join, just let us know. To anyone else, you can do super chats. Steve, I wanted to bring up the issue of why are you agnostic?
Oh, it had to come up sometime, right? Is that because Rachel joined? Is that it? Okay. I'm sorry. I got to do the trigger thing. Wait, with my trigger.
So to give people a background on this, you have gotten an endless amount of shit from atheist YouTubers, content creators who basically say, dude, why not just call yourself an atheist, call a spade, and you have, I think a pretty reasonable defense for why you call yourself agnostic rather than atheist. I'd like for you to share that, but just for the sake of setting off your triggered button, when I posted the page on my website to publicize this event, one of the books that I recommended at the bottom was David Silverman's Fighting God, which for those of you unfamiliar, there's like a whole section in the book that says like, if you're agnostic and you're not sure if you believe in God, but you don't actually believe in God, tough shit, you're an atheist. Like he lists all these different.
Yeah, the whole. In fact, I was just talking about the webpage that American Atheists have, which is like they have a page called "What is Atheism," and to me, I'm not kidding. It's like the Answers in Genesis version of philosophy. It is ideological. It is nonsensical. It makes contradictory statements. It's epistemologically unsound to me. And so, yeah, it's one of those things that's like, oh, this is where people are getting information from that's saying why they think I'm wrong is because they're getting it from sources like American Atheist rather than, in a nutshell, you asked me why I take the agnostic position or what it actually entails. Very simply, and so for future reference, so people don't straw man me, which they usually do, that in philosophy or in the academic sector, opposition of theism is false. and it's defined as in reference to a proposition. Now, that doesn't mean you have to use that definition. Definitions are communicate context when we have a conversation. There's no intrinsic meaning to words. And why am I staring at Rachel eating? This is kind of screens here. Sorry.
I was hungry. I'm sorry.
No, you can eat. I'm just kind of curious why it's stuck. I have a big picture. I looked over here and there's Rachel.
You're entertaining. It's like when you go to the movies and you have to have popcorn. You know, it's like the Michael Jackson meme.
He's talking about agnosticism again. The most tiresome subjects over the last year, though, in 2017, the Great Debate community. Matter of fact, it has been discussed so much. Is a Wikipedia entry just on this very topic.
Hey Steve, real quick. So we're getting everyone in the live chat is saying that your audio is cutting out. Would it be possible to disable your webcam feed to increase the bandwidth?
Oh no, actually my feed is good. It's on your end, I think.
Do you think it's on my side?
I'm seeing it break up quite a lot as well.
Yeah. Can everyone in the chat hear me and Rachel fine?
Testing.
Not that I'm saying much, I'm just eating flapjack.
Because see, before I was agnostic on the issue of whether or not it was Steve's stream, but now that I have more evidence, you know, I'm ready to take that that step of. Are you still there, Steve?
Do you think he heard that?
I think he's out. Oh wait,
oh, no.
He disabled his video. He muted his mic. His mic is muted. Maybe he's screaming into the void. He's like, "You'll never understand us agnostics." Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's try that. Okay, so I changed that. Okay, so anyways, in a nutshell, my position is that philosophically speaking, atheism is definitely a belief claim. It's a belief that the proposition is false. However, I want to go on record of this. It doesn't matter to me what definition you use because there's no intrinsic meaning to words. The argument that is being put forth is there are some people out there that are saying, hey, atheism is just a lack of belief. Atheism is a position if you don't have a God belief, you're an atheist. Well, that's okay for a colloquial definition. And if you're talking among, you know, a general group of people, fine, I get that argument. But the problem is when you use that towards somebody like me, that's not the epistemic position I take, because I take the epistemic position that I don't accept the theist claims, but I don't accept the hard atheist claims as well. I reserve judgment on it, suspend judgment on the proposition. And that's generally how these words are used in academia. Somebody doesn't have to accept those things. They don't have to use those. But the argument has been that they say that these words are not used that way. Well, I got 12, 13, 14 different sources that will tell them contrary to that. So that's kind of what it boils down to is that I take the same position as a soft atheist, but it's labeled differently for epistemic reasons.
Yeah.
What do you think about... Sorry, do you mind me just...
Real quick, have you ever heard atheists say, I don't accept the theist position? They make these claims, but I'm not accepting what they're saying, so therefore I'm an atheist. Right? You've heard that, right? That's the same thing as me. Logically, a soft atheist and agnostic have the same logical position for the most part.
I was going to say, did you see Cosmic Skeptic's video a while back where he was talking about how people shouldn't be afraid to kind of label themselves atheists and kind of like step up from agnostic?
Yeah, I did. So. Let me put on the record, I love Cosmic Skeptic. I think Alex is wonderful. I think he's absolutely wrong on this. And I would love to have an off-air hangout with him one day just to speak with him on this. And I don't want to be publicized. I just think that he's so brilliant, but I think he's being deluded by David Silverman in this whole American atheist approach, which is based upon Anthony Flue's paper from 1972 called The Presumption of Atheism. It's just been a resurgence of a type of way to subsume agnostics for political reasons. And I understand the reasoning. And I think Cosmic Skeptic has one thing going for him that most other people that put forth this narrative, that he at least is putting forth the narrative that, hey, we need to do this for political reasons. We need to do this.
Steve gone, right?
We lost him briefly.
Let me just exit the hangout and come back in real quick, okay?
Okay. So in the meantime, we have a super chat from Anon S. And he said, do any of you guys know of any YouTube atheists who focus on atheist recovery for drugs or alcohol? He's thinking it'd be a good topic to start a series on. I don't know of any specifically that cover recovering from drugs or alcohol. What I do know, I know that there's the organization Recovering from Religion, which has a bunch of resources there. I think they may have in their resource page some different resources for secular drug and alcohol recovery tools for people. And there's also the Secular Therapist Project. I know therapy doesn't necessarily cover addiction, but it can. As far as alternatives, I know that there's been a lot of backlash within the secular community to like Alcoholics Anonymous and programs like that are fundamentally faith-based. And there was a podcast episode by Seth Andrews, the Thinking Atheist, on Alcoholics Anonymous. And if I remember correctly, there were a couple of secular alternatives that he mentioned. But as far as actual YouTubers who talk about it or who have that as a channel focus, I'm unaware of any. I don't know if either of you guys are.
I know a few YouTubers who talk about kind of like their experience with recovery, and they don't make it like a religious thing, but I don't know anyone who does it kind of from an atheist perspective because they're atheists, if that makes sense.
Who
I
all are you thinking?
I actually have a friend that actually has been in and out of rehab, and he's an atheist. And one of the reasons he's been in and out of it is because they literally pushing religion down his throat. And he's like, I don't want this. I don't want to have to give up my autonomy and say that, oh, I have I'm an addict because I'm incapable of kicking it myself, and I have to go to a higher power. And he wants to find a group just like that. He wants to find an atheist group. And there are a few atheist groups out there that do have that, by the way.
So
I find it really bizarre, like how sort of reliant a lot of American groups like that are on religion. Like, I didn't realize it at all until I started doing more research into it. But I did a video a while back on, I think it's like nouthetic counseling or something, and it's basically like the Christian response to mental health counseling and things like that, and saying how sort of traditional counseling techniques aren't good enough and you need to turn to the Bible and things like that. And I found it absolutely horrific. But it's only when I was doing research that I found out how kind of common that is in America, and it really shocked me.
It's really common. Yeah, it's quite common.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
so we just don't have that here.
In the chat, they're saying that Telltale Atheist talks about that stuff quite a bit.
Oh, he has some videos on that. Yeah, and he actually put a nice shout out to the Geek Room, myself, and Prophet Azad the other day, which was really nice of him to do so. So thank you.
Yeah, so if you're wanting though, like if you're talking about like you're wanting one of us to start a series on that or something, we can definitely look into it. If you were asking for yourself to start up a channel and have that be your niche or your primary area of focus, I would say go for it. Find a particular area that, if there's a problem or an issue that you think you can help people with, start a channel. For me, it was, just over a year ago, I started seeing a lot of channels that previously talked about atheism either had stopped making content and they weren't taking the direction that I was wanting to take, which was one of creating kind of a humanistic community of people who love science, who are skeptically minded, who are trying to promote a better future. And I just didn't see a lot of channels like that. And I think more and more are starting to spring up. But whenever you want to get into the game and start, creating content and letting your voice get out there, find a niche, find an area that you think is under-addressed and do it. Make it happen. Also, Steve Bauman has just pledged in a super chat as well, just pledged $350. And so I'm going to send him a link to join. What's the best way to send you that link, Steve? I know you're on Facebook. Would that work?
I've seen him like commenting on my videos for a while, and he seems like a really lovely guy. So this is quite sweet.
Yeah, get to meet some of the fans.
Split off, so I try to run it like this. This is where I can actually see you guys. I had my bandwidth turned down. I was just seeing your icons. So maybe this might work. Oh yeah, Steve, pretty cool. Yeah, he's been in many of my hangouts. Everybody in the live chat, I think I recognize every name in there right now. So except for Ocean Killer Toy. Kidding. Ocean's a good friend.
Okay, Steve, I'm assuming, yeah. I'm assuming that you're the same Steve that I'm Facebook friends with. All right, they're telling Steve to turn off his webcam again.
Then I can't see you guys.
Wait, you can still see us.
No, and if I turn on my, if I turn, you know what? I guess
you just turn off the little camera icon thing at the top, the little button.
Yeah, no, it's a little more complicated. Here we go.
Huh. All right, I'm gonna shoot Steve a link to join. Then we'll have two Steves in the group, so we'll have to be like Bauman and McRae.
Oh, Paul's in the live chat.
Okay, Steve, I just shot you a link through Facebook.
Okay, there we go.
Now also, another Anon S just pledged $1. If you'd like to ask a question, we can answer it, or if you want to join, but we need to know how to shoot you the link because I'm not just publishing it in the live chat, or we'll have 1,000 people in here.
Yeah, I'm ready for more questions. We barely touched stuff. I mean, this is kind of a stuff we can have conversations for a year on. Try to cram it down to one little 5-minute segment on this. So please come in and ask me questions. I don't mind.
Yeah. So Steve, why the long hair? Are you going for the god look?
Yeah, since I was in the military, I've had short hair all my life. I was in retail, and so when I moved, I said, "Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna try something different." And then I don't know, a year and a half ago, I just said, "Screw it! I'm gonna see what happens if I grow it long." I had a mullet back in the '90s. Yes, I know, but it's true.
Please tell me there are photos.
I have one photo, and I will show it to you one day.
Yes,
if I'm drunk enough, I will show it to you one day. Yeah, I look like Cat Stevens or something. But actually, I have two. I have two photos. But I don't know. I just wanted something different, and so I'm just letting it grow out to see what happens. That's it. Just a change. That's it. No other reason than that. No metaphysical reason.
Steve, have you ever thought about now that you have long hair and you kind of look like God? If I were to bring back my animated Bible Myth series and I needed a live action Dingleberry, have you thought about wearing a tutu? I could.
Yeah, I would give it a shot. Yeah, I'm down for that. Why not?
Like a pink tutu?
Sure. Yeah, dude, I am secure with myself. I don't mind. I don't care. I really would. I'm
awesome.
Doesn't bother me in the least.
Yeah, there's
really good in a pencil skirt. I never tried it, but I have the legs to pull it off. Legs, let me tell you.
Kind of getting back on track with the great debate community, you've had a lot of different debates with a lot of different people. Have you, over the course of those hundreds or thousands of debates, ever had one where someone gets halfway in and they're all of a sudden like, you know what, you're right, I changed my mind?
Well, yes and no. I had my first debate that I had was with a friend of mine named Wayne Fillmore, who was a young Earth creationist that I kind of got along with. We had a little brush up one day, long time ago, and he basically challenged me to a debate. And I said, well, you know what? I actually like you, Wayne. I'm going to actually take you up on this because I want to be able to change your mind. And we had a debate. He came back. It was a macro evolution, right? And I went in with the position. I showed him cladistics. I showed him speciation. I showed him the Ensatina salamander, ring speciation. And I was like, this is what macro evolution is. He came back 2 hours later and said, I looked into what you had to tell me, Steve, and you were right. A month later, thanks to help by myself and other people like General Han Solo and a few others, he left young Earth creation altogether, and now he's a theistic evolutionist, and he's very pro-evolution. He recognized that he's been lied to all this time, and he is adamantly against young Earth creations. He feels like he was cheated and lied to and scammed. That's the point he got to. So yeah,
wow,
it can happen. Yeah, it's rare. Matter of fact, it doesn't happen often. But hey, Steve.
So,
hey guys, what's up?
Steve, welcome to the chat.
Hey
Hey.
Tom.
Hey.
Hey Rachel.
So, apparently, my girlfriend thought I was too sober for this chat, so she just brought me a beer.
Nobody told me I would go grab a beer. I'm
Well,
down for that.
if someone starts that AA channel, we know you're going to be the first one on there, Tom.
Steve, your microphone's a little quiet. I don't know if you can adjust the volume at all.
Alcoholic atheist. Let's see here. Is it?
Is that better?
A little
this
bit
is-
better.
I'm
You
actually
guys too.
holding it in my hand like an idiot.
Steven and Steve. That way we
Do you
Actually,
pronounce
most-
it Bauman?
It is Bauman. It's the German spelling and pronunciation. But actually, most of my friends call me Ludo because of Labyrinth. You know, he's the rock guy, and so that's where that comes from.
Awesome. Well, do you have any questions for any of us three?
I'm actually trying to think about that right now. I won't be on here too long, but I want to try to sound at least halfway intelligent.
Or comments or feedback?
Yeah, what you got, man?
One comment.
Go for it.
One comment. Rachel, where's the cat shirt?
I'm sorry. I'm actually I lied about wearing pajamas. I'm wearing the t-shirt that I wear as pajamas. It's not cats, but it is. I don't know if you guys know anything about UK politics. It's David Cameron making out with a pig.
I know
I
that.
agree with that. Yes.
Yeah.
I
College.
do have a
and-
question for Steve.
It was.
Yeah. Not cats, but
Steve, are you trying to get temporary employment as a mall Santa?
I don't have the time for it. You know, lost me. I actually went on a diet. I lost 10 pounds. But my daughter actually wanted me to go trick or treating with her last Halloween as Santa, and I was like, "You don't go trick or treating as Santa. That's a different holiday, honey."
I think you could do it. Like, it wouldn't be that
Take it.
out.
Do it.
What, Rachel?
I think you could do it. It wouldn't be that out of place.
Yeah, well, I mean, I figure they already mix paganistic rituals with all of them, anyways. Why would it matter?
Yeah. Be fine.
So
Oh,
McRae, do you
dress kids
have
up as little elves.
kids?
Sorry.
I have one that I know of, but if there's more out there, let me know.
Well,
I
I was going to say you could go as Santa, and one of your kids could go as the Easter Bunny.
Yeah, no, I just have one that I'm aware of. However, who knows? You know. Yeah, she's 12, thinking she's 25. Very precocious, to say the least. But I'm very proud of her because even at 12, she recognizes that things like flat Earth are just absurd. And so she has friends that are actually putting forth that narrative, and she just goes like, "Daddy, some people are just really stupid." And I'm like, "Yes, my love, that is true." Yes.
What
So
if
you
she
don't
came
know
home one
if-
day? Oh,
You don't know if you have other kids. Did you have like a crazy ex that would poke holes in your condoms or something?
No, I've had a lot of ex-girlfriends over the years.
Steve, stop
you.
underselling your pimpdom.
You've all seen my Facebook page, man. I've had some pimpdoms. Yeah, I've had some good ones. Yes, back in the day.
I was gonna say, what if your daughter came home one day and told you she was an atheist?
She's allowed to be anything she wants.
You wouldn't shout at her.
Why would I? No. Why would I? What am I gonna? Honey, no, you can't be an atheist. No, she can be anything she wants. Matter of fact, she probably will end up being an atheist. Her grandma's the one that's put her into these Catholic type things, and so she's been exposed to religion. But she's asked questions about it. She asked fair questions, and I told her mom, she's gonna have to decide that on her own. Her mom's agnostic like me, so
Yeah, I meant like as opposed to agnostic, but
yeah, she can be anything she wants.
Yeah. that's sweet.
Well, I'm sure
That's
you guys have heard the phrase like teach a child, teach them all religions, you inoculate them. I've always figured I don't plan to have kids, at least for quite some time to come if I ever do. But I've always figured that if you just teach them how to think and how to think critically, and you teach them all the different religious myths and stuff from just an objective standpoint, that they'll probably be able to put two and two together.
Right. Oh, look at Apologia. Apologia, you're such a wise ass. I love that. He said, "What if your daughter came home and told you that you were an atheist?" honey, by the way, you were adopted. No. I would just explain to her why I don't take that label, because epistemically I'm not. So But there is that narrative out there that people are pushing. You have to be a theist or an atheist, and of course, most people I think recognize by now that's not necessarily true by any means. So
yeah. So I wanted to get a little feedback from the live chat. What do you guys think about this type of format? I'm not charging my patrons at all for this stream, partially because of all of the technical difficulties early on. But I would like to do something like this fairly regularly, where I bring different guests on, various people within the secular community, scientists, philosophers, and whatnot. And just what I'll do is, if you're a patron or you support this channel financially and you'd like to join, you can actually come on the channel and talk to these people. If I bring a bigger guest on, someone like Lawrence Krauss or someone like that, I'll probably, because the demand to join will be much higher, then I'll probably set the bar, like only patrons pledging at this level or whatever we think is reasonable. But what do y'all think about that? If I just every month have a new guest on my channel, have a live hangout with different people, and you guys can all join and participate, just kind of as an extra.
yeah, this is a test run. He's testing all the audio problems out on me. So when he gets a real guest,
I think that's a great idea, Tom. I also liked
great
it at the beginning or in the last one when you couldn't hear Steve. It was better that way.
yeah.
Okay.
Now you sound like my mom.
So what you're telling me is you guys just want to hear my voice, but have the pretty visuals.
Smooth, dulcet tones.
Yes, but try to deepen it a little bit, make it more soothing, more Barry White type.
I can do like the deep radio voice.
I had people tell me when they couldn't hear me that was the best conversational thing they've ever listened to. So that was like my best. Whatever. Yeah.
Actually, Steve, you should feel rather than thinking of this as a test run, this is the first live stream that I've actually promoted ahead of time.
I'm on it. I really am. Seriously.
So I created, awesome. Facebook events and a bunch of other stuff ahead of time on social media, but those are all linking to the botched version of the stream that had all the technical difficulties. So
it is what it is, man. I appreciate the fact that you promoted it, and you're having me on. So I have no complaints at all.
Hopefully we can at least send a few people your way. Go check out the Great Debate Community. They have long form content, very intellectual topics, conversations, lots of smart people that they bring on. You can learn about stuff, and it's a lot of fun if you're sitting at home on a Thursday or Friday night or whenever, and you see that they're live. Yeah, tune in. Sometimes you can.
Not a member. I see Atheist Edge, Jim. I see Lucifer Almighty and Bullinator and Gob.
We have a lot of sub overlap, I think.
I think everybody in the live chat right now I think is Great Debate Community.
So other Steve Bauman.
Yeah.
Tell people a little bit about something interesting, fun fact about you.
There's nothing fun about me, Tom. You know that.
You have a cat, Ezra.
I have several cats. It's kind of creepy, actually.
You have a black cat, don't you?
Two black cats.
Okay, so does the double unluckiness cancel out?
Yes, it does. Yes, it really does.
Interesting. So what happens if one of them dies? Does it goes back and flips?
One is kind of old. He's the oldest. He's doing okay though, so I don't know. Probably give him all a Viking funeral on Lake Superior.
Oh,
nice. But you got to make sure you keep them in pairs, though.
Yeah. One's missing an eye too.
Just in case of another flood or something. Is that why you keep them in pairs?
Oh no, you keep them in pairs because if you have two black cats, it's like two negatives equals a positive. They cancel out the bad luck.
In case the earth got flooded, they could reproduce or something and repopulate.
Well, they're all neutered in spades, so I don't know how that works. Might be one of those miracle birth things.
Well, that's like those pictures of Noah's Ark that they have, and the two lions that are coming on both have like massive manes, and it's like I don't think that these two are going to be able to do the job.
But they're still having at it at the whole atheism thing on live chat, by the way. Wow, they're going nuts. See where we started?
I can't see the chat. I'm not sure if I want to.
By the way, I'll let Lucifer Almighty or Ocean Keltoy or General Han Solo or Tyler Durden, any of those guys speak for me because they all the same position I take, or as far as the whole position that atheism in philosophy is a belief claim rather than just a lack of belief. But again, anybody can use any definition they want.
Oh, I do want to say something though. I do appreciate all the work you guys do, and as those of you that are subscribed to my channel know, I'm not an activist, at least not on my YouTube channel. So I live vicariously through all of you, and you guys do really good work. And yes, I'm ass kissing.
Well, hey, we appreciate the support that we get from you and from others like you. I know, as for myself, I definitely couldn't be doing this without patrons, without people sharing content. It really does mean a lot to me, and I know that I've been, whenever I read books on marketing and stuff, they always talk about like, ask for the sale, you know, people aren't going to pledge or support you if you don't, and like, you know, if you want your stuff to take off, you need that. But I've always been a little bit shy about shilling out my own product and being like, you know, support me, pledge on Patreon or something. And I feel a little bit less bad about it now that like I have a Patreon store, and you know, there's promo codes and stuff for patrons, and you know, there's a little bit more that I'm giving back. But it has been lately with YouTube kind of shadow banning controversial content. I'm sure Rachel, Steve, and I were talking about this. I'm sure you've seen it some on your channel as well. But it is becoming increasingly difficult because the small audience that we have on YouTube, those are all the ones who already are pledging and supporting what they can. And the new content creators that we rely on for it to be recommended to bring in to help our channels stay afloat, a lot of them aren't getting notifications. So we're having to look for alternative methods. One of the methods right now, you know, obviously if I do a chat like this once a month, it's something that I, you know, while I don't like to just be like, hey, you know, pledge to my Patreon, I don't want to seem selfish, but I have to pay bills. And I speak, I think, for all YouTubers in saying that. But I've always been a believer that like, if you want your product to grow, you know, you want your message to get out there, give something back, give something positive back, help people out, support people. So I've been, over the course of the last few months, I've been putting together, like on holykoolaid.com, a bunch of different resources completely for free for everyone. Like I have a list of like over 200 atheist, skeptic, and free thought podcasts, kind of as like the go-to comprehensive list. I think it's holykoolaid.com/atheist-podcast, or there's a link on the homepage. I've also put together like lists of like ways you can find an atheist community and a local group to get plugged into and get involved in. I try to have a conversation. I've made a Facebook group called Science Loving Skeptics right now that's all about promoting science, and people can be a part of that community. So I'm like, I want to, for me, it's never been just about the money. Like I care about the mission. I care about humanism. I care about the future of mankind and humanity and stuff. But at the same time, I'm like, if I can give something back that people think is beneficial enough that they're willing to pledge a couple bucks, or at least share the video, like the video, it does help all of us out as activists and as content creators for sure. And I want to thank you for that.
And you might want to point out again that Patreon did reverse their decision, mostly, almost exclusively, because content creators spoke out. I know I was tweeting to them left and right how bad I thought their decision was, and I know I saw a ton of content creators. Creationist Cat was livid, and everybody was just not happy with their decision because it was a bad decision. They've now reversed that. So now if you are a $1 pledger, that's what you pledge. They're not taxing on this additional 2% plus 35 cents. And that was just ridiculous. So they said, you know what, we've listened to the content creators, and we've all lost Patreon on it. We've no question about it. But I think that that now that they reversed that decision, hopefully the people that were patrons before decide to come back. I think now is the best time to become a patron. Like, for example, if you haven't subscribed to Holy Kool-Aid, because you know now that that is not going to go into effect. You know that your pledge is going to be exactly what you think it is, and not have this weird surcharge on that. So
yeah. When I first saw, like, they sent out the email, the way that they framed it was as, hey, this is a positive, amazing thing for content creators. And they're like, basically, before you're, you know, because they're still like, if let's say that someone pledges on Rachel's channel and they pledge $1 a video, well, out of that $1, Patreon is still, they have a transaction fee. They take their cut and stuff, but they take it out of Rachel's dollar. They don't give Rachel $1 and then charge the patrons an additional amount. So it's a little deceptive when you see like a total dollar amount, like this person's getting this much per video, because not only are they just pledging that per video, but like for each additional video after that, some people only pledge they limit it to 1 video a month or 2 videos a month. And so it actually goes down with each video that the person creates, the amount that they get from Patreon, but then there's also the percent that Patreon takes out. Mm-hmm. So when they first sent out the email and they said, oh, hey, this is great for content creators because you're actually getting, you know, a larger percent of the pledge and stuff. Like I saw that and I was like, oh, cool. Like that might actually be kind of good.
I didn't think that. I knew it was a bad idea as soon as I saw it.
But I didn't really read the details of the email just because like I was in a hurry and I have a million different things I'm working on. I was like, maybe they're actually kind of cutting down a slight percentage or whatever. Maybe I'm freaking naive, probably. But within a couple days, I just started seeing all over the internet content creators having like this massive backlash, being like, what the heck, we're losing patrons left and right because you're charging like a 35-cent fee or whatever for like each pledge multiple times, even though there's only one transaction fee on your end. And I think it was Patreon was getting like a 600% boost in how much they were taking in. It was a super kind of like greedy move on their part. But they have since reversed that, and they apologize. They listened to the backlash, so that's a positive thing at least.
Yeah, not many CEOs take responsibilities. He did. He said, we messed up. This was a bad idea. We hope to regain people's trust. We know a lot of people left Patreon because of it, and he took responsibility, and I got to give him props for that. There's not a lot of companies that do that. So I have more faith in Patreon now than I ever did before, because now I know that they do listen to the content creators, because we all got affected by it. Trust me.
Now, if we can just get YouTube to listen.
Well, good luck with that. Yeah, they don't care.
Well, I actually started uploading my videos to VidMe, and right as my VidMe account was starting to take off, then they went under.
Yeah, you just invested in AIM too, right? Because AIM just today, there's no more AOL Instant Messenger, by the way, guys. 2 decades of AOL Instant Messenger over. So
does MSN still exist?
MSN still around, yeah, but AOL's gone. That's the day.
Wait, AOL hasn't. You said 2 decades. The Instant Messenger wasn't that old. Just AOL.
I don't know. No, it's 2 decades.
It's pretty old.
1997.
When they were still giving discs to everyone.
Sure.
I remember those.
What was that, Steve Bellman?
Oh, I just said I thought they started Messenger about the same time they started handing out free discs to everyone. Crap,
yeah. Oh my God, you couldn't go anywhere without a disc, right?
I remember those.
You mean frisbees?
Yeah. Hey, you're at Best Buy. Here's an AOL disc. Oh, hey, you're getting gas.
Hey, great coaster.
We always used to get them with like newspapers on a Sunday morning.
Did you guys have that in Europe?
Yeah. We used to have them with newspapers.
Literally, you get them with newspapers. Wow.
Yeah. So that was like a really big thing for a while. You'd get like a CD with your Sunday newspaper. So sometimes it would literally be like music, and then when kind of the internet started getting popular, you'd get your AOL ones, and sometimes you'd get other ones for. I can't remember any of the AOL like competitors at the time, but whatever they were, sometimes you just get them through the post. But yeah, that was
I thought it was funny when you have like a box of them and sitting on a counter and it'd be like free disc, and people like grab like 10 of them thinking they were getting a big steal. Yes, I'm getting 10 free AOL disc. I'm like, oh man.
Well, so I grew up overseas, and I obviously saw the AOL discs whenever we come back to the States for come home for vacation or whatever. But we always had like these little cards that would have like, I think you'd pay like $10 and you get like 100 minutes or whatever, or not 100 minutes, 100 hours of internet, but it was dial up.
Yeah, no, that's net neutrality over now. That's what it's going to go back to, I think.
I think I had dial up until probably probably like maybe when I was like 15 or 17.
Man.
My parents didn't get high-speed internet overseas, I think, until after I went to college.
We had bulletin.
Tom, so that was like last week you had it, right?
Yeah, when I was a kid yesterday.
Do I still have it? I figured since I'm not, since I've got a little something here going on, I don't have quite the baby face as if I shave entirely.
You need to get it like this or like Steve's.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the problem is my hair's naturally curly, and I think my beard is too. But I'll have like it starts curling, but I'll have like a little like, random patch where there's not hair, or like a tiny little bare spot, and it just looks sloppy because the rest of it, like this, will start to fill in. But I just
Dan
just do the
gets his little bald patches here.
yeah, I feel gross if I have empty spots.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that feels grow it all or nothing.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion of it.
Well, you also have a full magnificent beard going on.
Actually, you should have seen it yesterday when it was 5 inches longer. Steve's is still better.
Huh.
It's a lot of maintenance. Actually, people don't realize having a beard is maintenance. I mean, because you always have weird hairs flying everywhere. You got to get the right conditioner so it's nice and smooth, and it's a pain. Now I know how chicks feel when they're like, "Oh, I just washed my hair and I can't do a thing with it." I get it now. In fact, I'm kidding. I was riding the other day in the passenger seat. We're going to the store, and the window's down, and my hair is just blowing all over the place. I'm like, how do chicks do this? It was the first time I've ever really experienced that sensation of that hair just being blown all over your face. So I was like, I get it now. I empathize with. I feel my inner, female coming out. I can be one with them.
I thought you said you weren't a feminist.
I'm anti-feminist is still in touch with my feminine side.
So Steve Bauman, to kind of bring the chat a little bit back towards the main topic of the video, you live up north, if I'm not mistaken. Do you see a lot of religious fundamentalism where you are?
I actually live in Northwest Indiana. I own property in the UP up on the Keweenaw. And I have dual citizenship with Canada, so I have family in Ontario. And so I go up there a lot. I was up there for Thanksgiving. Are you talking about Ontario, or are you talking about like Upper Michigan, the UP and stuff? Either or.
Where is it worst?
You do see it in the UP a lot, but people don't really talk about it. I don't know. People are more quiet there, but in Ontario, I don't really see it. I never really have. I mean, you have churches and stuff, but it's not like being in Alabama where there's one every other block, There is a Bible camp.
I was looking in Chicago, and if I went into Google Maps, not just the regular maps, they have like some different developer tools and stuff. And I was pulling up data points for all the churches, and in like a tiny little square mile, I think it was, radius, maybe a little bit bigger, there were, it was insane. There was like 100 churches or something
within Chicago city limits.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's a lot, and that is. You wouldn't think for a city like Chicago there would be that many, but there really are, and that's a huge, they're missing out on a lot of tax money on that. But you got to remember too, a lot of them are just historical buildings. I don't know if you actually looked at them and stuff, but yeah, there are an erroneous amount of churches in Chicago. But Chicago's a very secular city. I mean, I lived there for 5 or 6 years. I mean, it's not like being down south. I lived in Georgia for 2 years, and everyone wore it on their sleeve. That's just what I saw. It was very out there and stuff, and I don't really see it up here that much. Not even in Northwest Indiana here, I don't see it that much. I see the political bumper stickers on everybody's car and all the little fish and stuff like that. But I just don't see it out in plain view. But I don't know. I kind of keep to myself here too.
Well, I used to see it a lot more when I was. I went to Texas A&M, which is for a public school, it's pretty damn conservative. And then working as well in Texas, all my coworkers were super religious, and most of them, had, they denied evolution, and they were young earth creationists. And so I saw it everywhere around me there, plus my family. So you can kind of see how that, as feeling like the oddball out atheist, would light a fire under my ass to speak out and become an activist. I don't see that as much up north. And sometimes I feel like, hey, even though right now I'm in Oklahoma at the moment, and there's a lot of religious stuff here, I don't see... I feel like, hey, we're winning the debate because I'm surrounded by atheists. And so I've kind of I try not to just set up an echo chamber, and I try to engage with people outside of that. But it's really easy to feel like we're winning and then you tune in to, you know, the media and you start seeing fundamentalist religious pastors advising the president in all matters of policy, and it's
your
more
vice
than a little bit
president
troubling.
is one of the biggest religious self-proclaimed Christians there is, living here in Indiana. You know, we got to see a lot of that while he was governor here. Fortunately, he's not anymore. The bad news is he's vice president. And I'm not a big fan of Trump, but he is the lesser of two evils. Pence is far more charismatic and a far better politician.
Is Indiana's new governor as religious as Pence was?
No, I'm surprised. He's a Republican, and he's very moderate. Like all the billboards that Pence gave state funds to put up with all they're gone now on I-65. And he seems like he's trying to focus government better without cutting the crap out of it. It's weird. He seems to be doing a pretty good job thus far. And I don't know if you guys know, I'm just going to say I do work for the government for the state of Indiana. That's why I'm here.
So, Steve, I think it's a little disconcerting that should something happen to Trump and Pence becomes president, that literally a person who can start a nuclear war thinks the Earth is 7,000 years old. I mean, my mind boggles on that. It's incomprehensible to me that somebody could be at that level and not have a basic scientific education.
Well, no, he doesn't. I don't know if you guys know his background. He's also a lawyer. You know, he's a law degree like Ben Stein. Yeah. Both of them can't tell their ass from a hole in the ground.
Yeah, he went to hell. I used to like Ben Stein at one time.
I did too, until a
complete moron.
Well, I think what troubles me more, Steve McRae, than him not knowing the age of the Earth is the fact that he not only thinks that the world is going to end in some type of religious apocalypse, but welcomes it.
Oh, that's scary. Yeah, it's true.
And you look at this change in, you know, oh, hey, if we set if we recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, maybe we can hasten the day and speed things up. And
yeah, that's a little scary.
It's like they give zero damns about the consequences of their actions with any kind of retaliatory backlash from Palestinians or from the greater Muslim community as a whole. No sensitivity, no, you know, and I mean, I'm no fan of Islam. You guys who've watched my channel long enough know that. But at the same time, like, there's certain issues that require tact and kid gloves that I just don't think that our current administration has.
Well, do you think it's possible that, and again, I know I'm giving Trump way too much credit on this because he's not a master tactician. He's certainly, his brinkmanship is horrible. But do you think that maybe he is poking the bear a little bit to get North Korea to do something where he can act even unilaterally rather than escalate later on? Because obviously, as North Korea progresses in their desire to have more and more nuclear weapons and more powerful nuclear weapons, including ones that use fusion or fusion amplified bombs, the boosted bombs, that there might be people in his administration saying, hey, you know what, maybe we should get Kim Jong to do something now and at least minimize the casualties, because it could be maybe far worse later on. And there is some reasoning to that. Now, I don't think that's what they're doing, because I don't think anybody in his Trump's organization has a clue. But there, if you think about it, that kind of does make sense. I mean, because he's put a blockade over there right now. I mean, literally, he's poking the bear right now by putting a blockade over there.
Yeah, I don't want to give the impression that I am an expert in North Korean politics and whatnot. I do have a degree in international studies and a political science concentration. I don't think that Trump is handling this situation with tact. Obviously, you know, trying to antagonize Kim Jong-un, you know, tweeting out Rocket Man, placing blockades. Like, if they want to take some type of military action, you know, military strike or something,
they need a reason to, right? But because they don't want to aggravate China. And if they, for example, if North Korea did a test, like they were supposedly going to launch something near Guam. If they did something like that, and if anything went wrong, if even radiation went in the wrong wind direction, it would give our administration a reason to take military action. And
well, the problem right now is, so you have South Korea right now, who is, a close ally of the United States and has been for some time, who has, ever since the Korean War, has been on horrible terms with North Korea. Technically, that war never ended. They just kind of have a ongoing ceasefire. And the North Koreans, for as long as Korea has been divided, have yearned for a unified Korea, but a unified Korea under their fearless leader, one of the Kim dynasty members. Now, if let's say that the U.S. were to go in and bomb the crap out of North Korea and lay waste to everything, what happens if nuclear waste is a part of some of the targeted areas, and some of the fallout from that trickles over into South Korea or China?
We wouldn't even have to use nuclear weapons. We have enough conventional weaponry to pretty much destroy the infrastructure of North Korea without resorting to nuclear weapons.
Well, but what if they have enough time to launch a retaliatory missile? It wouldn't reach the United States, but it could definitely reach Seoul.
Yeah, well, that would be the South Korea would be the most dangerous. That would be the most likely, because we couldn't intercept something like that. We would have to. South Korea would have to be do the interception. But they launched toward Guam. They launched toward Japan. They launched toward the United States. There are various impact ways to disable missiles, and so we could probably take down their missiles pretty easily. However, Seoul, yeah, they're going to be screwed.
Take down the missiles without detonating them, though.
Yeah, they're called kinetic energy. They just impact them, and they cause a missile to go off course and break up. They're kinetic energy weapons.
But how does it prevent the detonation, though, upon impact? Does it have some type of EMP, or I don't know
no. Most nuclear weapons, first of all, don't impact the ground. They actually exploded above the ground because it produces a bigger blast area.
Yeah,
where the electrical fallout goes further. But no, if you have a kinetic weapon, it takes a very special chain reaction to occur in a nuclear weapon, that it has to reach a very specific geometric shape, a very specific critical form very quickly, and if anything affects that, it's not going to go critical. Now, there's going to be radiological concerns, but it won't go critical.
Isn't that more the case with plutonium bombs than uranium?
No, it doesn't matter. The plutonium bombs are implosion devices. Basically, it's a spheroid type system, and then they implode, and they reach critical mass when they're within a specific geometric shape of a smaller radius. The uranium types are usually a piece is missing. It's just basically a shape, and then you have a bullet that's the uranium slug that gets fired into that, and that causes it to detonate.
But couldn't when the slug fires, it essentially, if you have enough refined uranium to enough in order to create a chain reaction, how do you prevent that from? Maybe I'm showing my
well, think about it.
Illiteracy to
no, think about it. You have two pieces. In order to get a critical self-sustained critical reaction that's uninhibited, it has to be in a very small compact space. That's why they have high TNT that shoots the bullet in there, and then it implodes itself. So it basically every neutron that's being produced by the fissions don't leak out, and it's producing another chain reaction.
Okay.
If you have an impact reaction where it hits that missile, that never fires. It never has the geometric shape to ever become a self-sustaining critical reaction.
Okay.
Now, Grant, let me clarify. My area was in nuclear reactors. The theory only minusculely translates over to missiles, but I did qualify certain missile systems in the Navy. But the theory is similar, but there's a lot of differences between nuclear weaponry and civilian nuclear reactors, to say the least.
Yeah.
So I don't want to equivocate the two. Are you braiding your hair?
No, because I've always wondered how they to shoot down stuff like that without creating a blast that goes off. That's because if you have a nuclear detonation that's that high, high above the ground, doesn't it create an EMP pulse that could technically be even more catastrophic than the result of the fallout damage?
No, it will produce an EMP.
Because you can wipe out infrastructure
Yeah, but the EMPs, generally, these weapons are not designed to have enhanced EMPs. They're designed to have damage due to blast radius, overpressure, and radiological fallout. That's what's going to kill the most amount of people. The EMPs, that's not going to travel very far because these things are detonated only a few hundred feet above ground. It's not like they're detonated at like 1,000 feet above ground. They're detonated.
But the ICBMs are up that high, which is why I was asking if it would detonate.
They don't
the
detonate
actual
that high.
bomb
No, the ICBMs don't
by
detonate
shooting
that
it
high.
out of the.
ICBMs will travel high, but then they'll re-enter, and then they're.
I apologize to everyone in the chat who I'm revealing my ignorance to.
That's all right. I'm listening because you're far more knowledgeable on it than I am. But I have one quick question.
Sure.
Rachel, can you do the Princess Leia thing from there?
Yeah, hey, it's Star Wars Day.
Yeah, well, the Brits got it a couple days ago. You ponders, and I've already watched all the spoilers. I was going to see it tonight, but instead I'm on here with you guys.
Yeah, no spoilers.
No, I'm not going to do that to you.
Well, that's because like in the UK, they're actually living 6 hours in the future. It must have something to do with like
can you give me the
Doctor Who and time travel.
Yeah, give me the lottery numbers, Rachel. Come on, hook me up.
I don't know if I like you that much.
Nobody does. Yeah, no, I get that a
If
lot.
you weren't an agnostic, Steve, she might.
Wait, Rachel, isn't it like
if I ever became an actual atheist, I know my channel would have like 10 times the amount of subs it has, but that's okay. I have a really well-formed epistemic position that I could defend.
Or you'll get more hardcore shadow banning like the rest of us.
Exactly.
You're too late. You're too late to the game, Steve.
Yeah. But real quickly, if you think about it, though, like in a civilian power plant, there's a misconception. People think that a civilian power plant can blow up like a nuclear bomb, and that's just absolutely impossible, physically impossible. So it's the same thing with a kinetic energy weapon. It's not going to destroy. It's not going to cause the bomb to detonate.
Well, I was in one of my college physics classes. They talked about the difference between the nuclear reactors at, say Chernobyl versus, what was it, 9 Mile Island, and what they have now in like France and stuff.
You mean 3 Mile Island?
3 Mile, whatever.
Yeah, it's bigger now. They've expanded.
Yeah. But it's the differences in the reactor layouts and stuff are made nowadays to prevent stuff like that.
Yeah, it's called the negative temperature coefficient of reactivity is the technical name for it, and basically all that is a fancy way of saying is that as the reactor increases temperature of the moderator, that the reactor tends to want to shut itself down. So it's an inherently stable design because you can't have a thermal runaway effect. Now, Chernobyl, however, had a positive coefficient of reactivity of fission rate. So as that got hotter, it actually had to be fought to keep it from going more critical. So that's a bad design. You want something that's inherently stable. So they had a very cheap system. It was a graphite moderated core. And what happened was it just basically it caught on fire. The moderator caught on fire, and the graphite caught on fire, and then it had a steam explosion.
Yeah. So in regards to my previous comment, would 9 Mile Island would that be? No, that would be Eminem's nuclear power plant project coming up.
9 Mile Island. That's good. Yeah, 9 Mile Island. There you go. You know what? Should bring it up to him. I think Rachel is getting tired. She has to take off.
Yeah,
it's over 1 a.m. where she is. She's just gonna pass out right there.
I am very tired. But
Dan, like Americans. Americans 1 a.m. is where people are like just starting to get alive.
Hey, Rachel, could you put Dan on for a second?
Oh, he's playing Skyrim next door.
Oh, you don't want to disturb that. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Do you want me to pass something on to him there? Like a message? Abuse? Whatever?
Oh, no, I was just... there's no point in giving it to you because I was just going to tell him to get a dog.
She has to get 50,000 subs first, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Where you at now?
I'm coming up to 11, which is kind of exciting.
And how old's your channel now, Rachel?
I've been taking it seriously since like July, I think. So 5-6 months.
So 6 months. She's at 11,000. I've been on for 4 years, and I have 3. So yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, at least you guys are in the quadruple digits. So at least.
See, I should be an atheist. See, I don't have subs.
Well, now that Patreon's not isn't going to go through with what they were going through with, I'm gonna start giving to more people. Tom was actually the very first person I gave to. and it was his content that caught me. It wasn't his Patreon page or anything like that.
You get a Patreon. You get a Patreon. That's awesome.
Well, you know, if
really
I give money
appreciate
to
it.
like people like RJ, you know, I got to. I don't know if you guys know who RJ is. He's a
Oh
great
yeah, I love RJ, but I got
Yeah.
you know what? I feel sorry for RJ sometimes because I have never seen somebody work so hard to fundraise and not get anywhere.
Yeah, he busts his butt.
He does. He really does. So
Yeah, that's somebody's channel people should go to. So, but I'm probably going to cut out here soon too. Tom, I'm going to send you a message. I had an idea about your monthly thing, but I'll send you a Facebook message about it.
Okay, awesome.
So, well, yeah, my girlfriend's here, so I got to let you guys go. Have fun. Have a good night.
thanks, Steve.
Cool. Well, hey, thanks for joining us. If anyone else wants to pop in real quick and say hi, they can pledge
Now's
to
the
the super
time.
chat. If they want their questions answered and they just want to do that, they can pledge to the super chat, or become a patron. Look, shoot me a message on Patreon. But yeah, if we're going to be doing this more often, probably about once a month, I'm going to bring a guest on and talk to them. If you want to join in the conversation, hang out and talk and stuff, then yeah, all supporters of my show will be able to join in and hang out with us.
And one day I'll be on Rachel Oates' channel as a guest, and I'll know I made it.
Okay. Another quick thing that I wanted to mention: the 45 of you are the first to get insider information to this, and so you can say that you heard it first and you heard it here, only you guys. But Rachel, myself, and another. Oh, thank you. Apparently, I'm still not.
She's a keeper.
She's pretty awesome. Do you want to say hi? No? She says not on camera. She's really pretty though. So you guys, the 47 listeners right now, are the first ever to hear this announcement. But myself, Rachel Oates, and one other YouTuber who you all know and love, who you will find out shortly, we are looking to set up a podcast here within the next few weeks, probably the very beginning of the new year. And it's going to be a science-related podcast where we talk about big ideas. We talk about the future of humanity. Where did we come from? Where are we going? And explore it, just like awe-inspiring, mind-blowing, cool stuff. And it's going to be amazing for all you podcast listeners out there. So you heard it here first. Yeah. So you can say that you were the first one to hear it. But
do we have any reaction to the live chat yet? Or are people just like, oh, okay.
No, they're just saying, "Oh my God, Rachel Oates." That's the reaction.
A podcast called The Joe Rogan Experience.
The Joe Rogan. That's a good name for a total. They're doing, the Joe Rogan Experience.
Am I dumb in saying who's Joe Rogan?
He has one of the biggest podcasts right now.
He's huge.
Really?
And he was a mixed martial artist / comedian who became a podcaster and political commentator and stuff. And he brings
He's the
guests
host of
on.
Fear Factor. It's an American show. Never mind.
Don't know who he
You
is.
Brits.
Sorry. Apparently, Robbie Williams has a podcast. I learned that this week. If
Who?
you know who that is. Robbie Williams?
I know Robin
in
Williams, but I don't think he has a podcast.
Probably not.
Oh.
Soon?
No, Robbie Williams. He was in Take That. He was like the male pop icon of the 90s.
Okay.
Sure, let's go with that.
Never mind. He was cool in the UK, okay?
I'm not familiar. And I grew up overseas and I knew some international people, but
Never mind.
Secret Sock Agent is like, Robin Williams is dead, and thanks for making the entire chat depressed.
No kidding, right?
So we'll end on a positive note.
Yeah, this went south.
Well, with
like
that, I'm going to get to
Dead
bed
Poets
now.
Society was a good movie.
Thanks, Rachel, for being there for moral
Oh.
support. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
Rachel, thank you so much. If anyone else
I
wants
had
to,
contacted her earlier, and I'm
Including
like,
me.
I'm nervous. I'm going on Holy Koolaid's channel, and I don't often go on people's channels, and she's like, Steve, you'll do fine. You'll do fine.
yeah, I don't bite.
Oh, bless. Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for making me like just sit here in awe of how smart you two are.
Oh, I
'Cause,
don't know
yeah.
shit.
Yeah, what
Not
were
in my
you
life.
listening to last? Yeah, I don't know what you were listening to, but I don't think it was us.
Oh yeah, that. Oh, I didn't want to say anything. I was listening to another video and just pretending it was
Yeah.
YouTube. But
Yeah.
awkward.
Genetically modified subject, probably. I'm sure. Alex, no, it had to be Alex. Alex.
Oh no, Alex is actually here. He's hidden in my cupboard right now, away from Dan.
Yeah, keep
know
him in
what
the
it's like.
That way Dan doesn't find
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Just keep him in the chest of drawers.
Right? I'm sure he'll fit and stuff. He's.
Yeah, he's pretty small in frame.
Wait, haven't you and Cosmic Skeptic and Rationality Rules, you guys have all you guys know each other in person too, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
isn't
totally.
Alex super tall?
Yeah, pretty much. But
I think
everyone's
he's
super tall compared to me, so
Looks like he's very intimidating. I mean, I've had him on before, and he's actually supposed to get back to me on something he sent me, and I sent back to him, but I know he's busy. But he looks like he would be able to throw down.
who's that?
Uh,
Steven or
Yeah, he looks like he would be
yeah.
He'd be a scrapper.
I don't know, he's just a pretty average sized guy. Like he's not small, but he's not like a Hulk either. he's just Steven.
No,
I'm not really good at giving any gossip here, am I?
I think he's really awesome. He's like I said, he's been on my channel. The only one I haven't had a communication with besides Twitter is Alex, which again, one of these days I'll have my off-air hangout with him, just to explain him the area of his ways.
I'll have to use my special relationship with him to convince him.
Yeah, that's fine. I got no qualms with that. You say, hey, there's a guy on the internet that thinks you're wrong. You're like, what? Yeah, he knows of me, I think.
So one day I'm worried I'm going to take the jokes with him too far and he's just going to get really scared of me.
Yeah, my stalker.
It's like he's really good for just going along with it, but I'm just worried one day he's just going to be like, okay, this is too weird now. Because
if he's not at that point already, who knows? I don't think so.
Anyway, with that, I am going to have to go to sleep because I'm tired and it's the middle of the night. But thank you for including me. It's been really fun. And from what I saw of you guys talking before, it was really fun as well.
Yeah.
Fun a lot.
Hey guys, go make sure that you check out Rachel Oates' channel.
Thank
She
you.
has an awesome channel. She pours her heart and soul into everything.
And
Go
I
subscribe
usually
to
don't
that.
look this scruffy.
And
Actually, this is a first. This is the first time I've been on YouTube without makeup, with wet hair in my pajamas. So I think that's a little more exciting than our podcast, to be honest. Yeah.
Well,
it's awesome. You look relatable.
I mean, who says that you can't? Who says that you have to wear makeup for a podcast?
Yeah, just because Holy Koolaid wears makeup for the podcast and for
That's
all
true.
this.
Bitch, I'm fabulous.
I bet you do. I bet you do a little touch up. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing full face of foundation today on you. Yeah.
Oh, he'd be gorgeous.
A little bit of gloss on your lips. Yeah.
Hey, I'm already gorgeous. What are you talking about?
No, I mean, I'm telling you, man. I don't judge.
Okay, I really am leaving now. But thank you so much, guys. And it was great to talk to you.
Awesome. Take care, Rachel.
See you later.
Steve and everyone else that's still in the chat, if you have any more questions for Steve, you still want to join in, say hi, talk to him, ask him questions.
Now's the time. At least give it, like I said, put a super chat out there, answer some questions. Thank you, Rachel, by the way, for joining us. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. We appreciate you stopping by for sure.
How can anybody not like Rachel? I mean, even the people that don't agree with her are like, okay, she's totally wrong because I'm a theist kind of thing or whatever. But you never really see anybody get really belligerent with her as they do some other people,
Yeah. Well, I think part of it too is, I And I've seen this with some channels are so vitriolic in their approach and one-sided, and they get on to bash anyone who has a different position than them, and will resort to ad hominem attacks and attacking someone's appearance and whatnot. And I think that there's a new wave of YouTubers that have sprung up, and that, you know, Cosmic Skeptic, Rachel, Godless Cranium, myself, Rationality Rules, Genetically Modified Skeptic, Apologia, like the list goes on and on and on. And these are all channels that have a much more nuanced approach, a much more rational, reasonable, calm approach. And I know that it doesn't get a massive amount of instant clicks, instant virality, you know, because it's not craziness, but it's sanity. And it's growing. It's slow, but it's
absolutely
the type of engagement that we get is much more positive. And I've seen this on your channel too. Obviously your channel is made up of dozens and dozens of different types of people with different approaches. But as for you and how you generally approach things, it's much more nuanced and calm, and you're able to facilitate a conversation rather than just attacking people.
Not always. I mean, let's put it in perspective. There are times things get out of hand. There's no question about it. But I think overall that I want the more pleasant dialogue. I'd rather have a person that I disagree with come in and have an amazing dialogue than somebody that comes in all vitriolic, like you said. And most of the people generally agree on most things. For example, like I had a great discussion with Emperor Atheist the other day on the Geek Room, and when we were talking past each other, and I had the utmost respect for Emperor Atheist. I think he's amazing. And when we got on the Geek Room, it was like a love fest. We were realizing that we kind of were just agreeing on everything. It's just the phrasing was a little off initially, and that's kind of what happens when you're just talking to people in a forum situation, not live. And so I think when people suss these things out, it makes the argument a little more palatable and a little more digestible in certain ways, because you don't have to go in guns a-blazing. You don't have to go in going, oh, look, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Because when somebody comes to my channel and the first thing out of their mouth is things like, oh, well, evolution's wrong, or hey, Steve, atheism is only a lack of belief, I'm pretty well at that point not going to have a long conversation with them, because it's not going to go anywhere, because I don't think they have the foundations to really talk about the discussion on any kind of real level, right? I mean, I'll try sometimes, but do you really want to have a conversation with a creationist where all he sit there and tell you is, oh, evolution isn't true, ha ha ha,
it's just a theory.
Yeah, it's just a theory. You have to be able to pick your battles, and so I try to get the creationists that I think will at least try to up their game a little bit. That's so I want people like Kent Hovind to come in, and people like Matt Slick and those guys, because if you can debunk them, the rest are nothing compared to those guys.
But you're not doing it to change their minds. You know that Matt Slick isn't going to change his mind, but maybe some of his fans who are watching will be like, whoa, this guy's not as smart as I thought he was, or he's just flat out wrong.
Exactly. No, I know that we're never going to change the mind of Kent Hovind and Slick, but if you go to like Skylar Fiction's channel, there's a video called P or Not P where I'm engaging with Matt Slick, and I'm basically running the counterpoint that Dr. Alex Malpass explained to him on why his tag argument was horrible, and Theoretical Bullshit did a wonderful write-up on it as well, and he still doesn't get it. He just doesn't understand it. And so that's what I want people to see, that look at Matt Slick can run a good game, but I don't think he really, I don't think he just understands half this stuff when it comes to the actual reasoning why his arguments are flawed, So that's what I want. Yes.
Now, Steve, do you engage in debates on the street, like in person with people very much, or almost entirely through YouTube?
I have been trying. There's a person, her name's Tiffany, that is friends with the Geek Room. She lives about 12 miles from me, and I've been trying to arrange something with her to go out and start doing some street stuff, and not a street epistemology. Now, I've had Anthony Magnabosco on, who's obviously the huge push with street epistemology.
We had him on Holy Koolaid. He was the first I interviewed.
He's great. He's an awesome dude. Awesome dude.
But yeah, to people just now, or who maybe aren't familiar with street epistemology, it's kind of a method of having these discussions where, rather than coming at it confrontationally or in a debate tactic, you're trying to win someone over by asking questions and trying to figure out, how do you know that something is true? How can we figure out or determine that that's true? And you kind of work together rather than being combative. And by using the Socratic method and asking questions.
Yeah, and I see a lot of potential now. I have brought issues to Anthony. He listened, and I respect that. He actually said, "You know what? I want to hear what you have to say on this." So has Ocean Keltori in the live chat. So have a few other people. I do have some minor issues with the methodological approach that street epistemology takes, because they take it from a very evidentialist point of view that strictly mostly relies on empiricism rather than rationalism. And I think that to build a decent epistemic framework, you need a kind of a mixture of both. And there are people that can be justified to believe something for pragmatic or prudential reasons other than, oh, I don't have the evidence to support it, because not everything is evidential based. There are other things out there. And so when they go to these people and they have these conversations with them, they're not exactly talking to people that have ever really read much on epistemology, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of philosophically naive in that regards. And I am too, trust me. I'm a complete white belt in philosophy. People give me a lot more credit than I deserve on it. But it's a fascinating subject. But it needs to be taken into account that I think maybe people are being unfairly questioned on their beliefs, not understanding that there might be other reasons why they believe something other than just evidential reasons. So, but it's got a potential, sure.
Yeah. Now, whenever you or anyone on the Great Debate community starts talking about philosophy and diving deep into certain topics, especially the terminology, I haven't been immersed in it as heavily, and I definitely take kind of a back seat when it comes to stuff like that, and I know when to shut up.
Listen to people. See, I've only reached the point where I am after 3 years of reading about philosophy, and I'm still a complete neophyte. I never took philosophy in college. I had to completely read it on my own, watch videos, and listen to people that I respected, like Ozymandias, Alex Malpass, Sock Account, Nicola H. There's a lot of people in our community that I think really know these topics, and that's where you learn. Whether you agree with people or not, you learn because they have gone through these things. They have taken these courses. And so I think that the key is just come in and listen and ask questions. If you want to know what these terms mean, ask,
Yeah, people don't have to be experts in order to engage in the conversation and learn and participate.
There's a really good question in live chat, if I can, real quick, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
It's just that, and I'm not going to get into it right here because it's a very good question, but it's very intricate. People have asked, Steve, do you think that using the formal definitions of atheism is better for political reasons than demographics? And I'm glad somebody asked that, because at least that person realizes that formally atheism is a belief. That is how it is in philosophy. There is no arguing in that, in my opinion. That's not even something that's debatable. What is debatable is it a better way to use that word to advance the normalization of atheism, or to advance the demographics for political reasons? That's a very fair question worth discussing. And we will be having that discussion on my channel or the Great Debate Community channel with somebody. It could be either tonight or tomorrow. I'm not sure. We're working on that. But that is actually one question that we do want to dive into, because it's a very good question. That's what Alex brings up, right? Alex advocates that, if you have this very generic definition, a broad definition called sensu lato definition, meaning in the most broadest sense, it incorporates more people. That's true, but I think it's kind of short-sighted. But I want to save that kind of argument for we actually have the hangout on that, about why I think it's in the long term. I think it doesn't have the effect people really think it's going to want it to have. So,
well, an American atheist is, they're focused on advancing, political change. And when you see the crazy radical levels of fundamentalist religious teachings in the West and how involved it is in our political system, I do see the need to push that narrative and to try to normalize atheism, to try and it's been working. The percentage of people who who wouldn't vote for someone purely on the grounds of them being an atheist has dropped, like as far as a percentage
Absolutely.
of the population. The number of people who trusted atheists less than rapists and child molesters used to be much higher. and it's dropped. You know, people are starting to realize that atheism isn't such a dirty word anymore. And part of that's a generational change, but I think part of that is just shifting the Overton window of what's acceptable, what's normal, and what's okay to talk about. And by getting more people to come out as atheists, I do think that there is massive political potential there for taking that approach.
And that's a very reasonable approach. I mean, that's a very rational argument. I kind of disagree with it, but it's a very rational argument. I think that there are ways to incorporate a more formal stance. Just like in science, these words mean specific things in science. We take a formal approach in science. I think there's a way of doing it, philosophically speaking, as well, that can actually do a greater good to normalize atheism across the board. But again, it can be argued either way. That's something that is debatable. There is no right or wrong with that. It's basically, what do you think is the best way to have the same ends? And that's what I think that all of us have to realize, that all the ends that all the people that I support, all the content creators I support, you and Rachel and Genetically Modified Skeptic and Prophet Exod and Apologia and all the other ones, our end goal is the same. It's to get creationism out of school. It is to promote science.
To promote critical thinking.
Promote critical thinking, right. I think we can argue the best ways to do that, and that's a fair dialogue. And those are the discussions I like the most, because I don't want to have any more discussions. Oh, what's the definition of atheism? Because it's a useless discussion. There's the colloquial, the general, basically definitions, the dictionary definitions, which I think are vague. I think they're problematic. I don't use them myself. I use the formal ones, but I don't advocate that somebody has to use one over the other. That's just absurd. Pick whatever you want. But I think the argument really lies in this type of argument. What is best to promote the normalization of atheism and to promote science in school rather than creationism? That is where the actual argument should lie. That make sense?
Yeah, Steve, I'm curious, when it comes to specific deities, would you call, you self-identify as an agnostic, and you say, one of the examples that you gave is, you said that you compare it to, if you ask someone, hey, I have a coin flipping machine here, and I'm going to flip a coin and it'll land on either odds or evens. Do you believe that it's even? And you're like, well, I don't know. And they say, well, then you must be an oddist. And it's like, wait, no, but I don't know that either. And so you're kind of saying, I'm neither an evenist or an oddist. I don't know 100% for sure if God exists. I don't know 100% for sure if God doesn't. I'm just kind of neutral on the topic. But
half of that, I would say yes. The other half, no. Because here's the thing. In philosophy, I'm trying to relate this philosophically speaking to the best of my ability, because I'm not a philosopher, but the agnostic...
while simultaneously dumbing it down for the layman.
No, I don't think anybody here needs to have much dumbed down, but
I was speaking for myself, not my audience.
No. How many beers have you had now? I feel like I just need to have a beer at this point.
I'm not that far in. I've had one and then that much of a second one. I really don't drink almost ever. But
I tell you what, I'm going to answer this. If we plan to do this for at least another 20 minutes, I'm going to have a beer with you, because I want to say I had a beer with you, because I can't do it in real life, obviously. So I will grab a beer here in a minute. But the agnostic position is the position that, you're not assigning a truth value to the proposition. A proposition that can be evaluated for true and false, such as the coin. Let's say the proposition is the flip is even. That could be true, ontologically speaking, meaning in the sense that in a being, that the coin is either even or odd. There is no other choice, assuming that it doesn't land on edge. Just say it's a quantized system where it's one or the other. There's a dichotomy.
It's binary.
It's binary. So ontologically speaking, it's either yes, it's heads, or yes, it's tails. However, the agnostic says, look, I don't have any information either way on this, right? Now, this doesn't have to apply to the God question. You can actually have information either way. But on the coin, I have no idea if I don't look at it. I have to take the agnostic position. That is the suspension of judgment. What the David Silverman agnostic atheist approach is, and by the way, I'm going to be doing a video on that page, because again, there's so much wrong in that what is atheism page. Is unbelievable. And that's the go-to source for a lot of atheists. It's a shame, because it's telling them grossly incorrect information. It's be like just learning bad science, it's learning bad philosophy. But if what they're saying is, oh, you're not an evenist. Yeah, you've got to be an oddist, because it's only one or the other. You're a theist or an atheist. There is no other option in their worldview. Because what they're doing is they're saying, if you're not a theist, instead of calling it a not theist, which is the negative of it, the negation, they're calling that atheism. And logically, there's nothing wrong with that.
But their definition of atheism is literally the A means not.
Well, the A is not. There's people that have been arguing this etymological fallacy, and even some of them actually say that they're going to be arguing an etymological approach, but it's a fallacy. The A in atheism, if you look at any philosophical source, means not. It doesn't mean without. It means literally the negation of the proposition. So if the proposition is theism, atheism is not theism. It is the negation of the position. Okay, when you say you reject something, if I say I reject theism, I am saying that proposition is false. And that's what it is in philosophical atheism. It is the belief that the proposition is false, not the psychological state of belief, of the ontological nature of God, whether meaning the existential existence of God being or not being. It is that they think that the proposition of theism is false. Does that make sense? So
yeah.
When an atheist says, look, if you don't think that proposition is true, you're an atheist. Well, I have a problem with that because I don't think that proposition is true, but I don't think the atheist proposition of there are no gods to be true either. Because think about this. If you allow atheists to assume agnosticism like that, then a theist can go, well, you know what? Here's the proposition. No gods exist. And if you don't affirm that, which would be a philosophical atheist, you're now a theist. So now they have assumed all agnostics under theism. Now, most people think of that and go, well, that makes no sense. But that is exactly what David Silverman and the the American atheists are trying to do. They're trying to say, if you do not have a belief that this is a true proposition, you're an atheist. And just the same thing as saying, you don't think it's even, you must think it's odd. They're trying to put that dichotomy in the wrong place because there is a dichotomy between
but
you don't believe, but there is a dichotomy between beliefs. Like I believe
philosophically speaking, I see where you're coming from, but most people have enough exposure to either science education or religious education to be pushed one way or the other, and I would ask you personally, like, would you call yourself agnostic towards the Christian God?
Mostly, yeah. I mean, I definitely take the agnostic position to global atheism, right? Because
assuming that Yahweh isn't a deist God who just created the world, but he's actually interacting with the affairs of men, performing miracles, his evidence, and there's evidence all around us of the works of his hands.
Yeah,
and assuming that that the Bible is the perfect word of God, then all you would have to do is disprove one aspect of it, like the global flood, young earth creationism, evolution, one of those things.
Yeah,
the dominoes would start to topple. Obviously there's different variations, then and I could ask you this one by one for each variation of the Christian God, and then start moving on to the Muslim God and Thor and Apollo and Zeus and Baal and Poseidon.
I brought up the same argument to a theist last night, believe it or not.
Would you say that you're an atheist towards the vast majority of ridiculous limited man-made deities?
Yeah, I'm atheistic toward a lot of them. Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm atheistic toward young earth creationism. I'm obviously atheistic toward most versions that people have, what they put forth of the biblical narrative. However, there are some variations of it that I'm probably more agnostic to. But it's not. It's hard to put these things into words that most people relate to, because again, they've been indoctrinated by things like American atheism and video channels that are telling them, hey, this is what these words mean. And they're not getting the full picture. For example, when I hear these tropes like, atheism is a belief, but agnosticism is knowledge, right? That's on the American Atheist page. I just cringe, because here's a contradiction. They're saying right there that atheism deals with belief, but wait, it's a lack of belief. That's not dealing with belief then. And then they're saying that agnosticism deals with knowledge. Well, knowledge of what? Agnosticism is a suspension of judgment. There's not making any knowledge claims. As a matter of fact, to have a knowledge claim, you first must have a belief claim. Knowledge entails belief. If you look at most forms of theories of knowledge, to have what we would call the word knowledge, to say I know something, it requires certain things. Justified true belief would be basically, person believes something to be true, it is true, and that you're justified, as opposed to like reliable true belief, which I kind of tend to. But even still, you have to believe that the proposition is true in order to have knowledge. So if you don't believe the proposition of theism is true, you can't even get to the knowledge thing. So Gnosticism has nothing to do with knowledge in this regard. It's a misapplication of the word used that I and every single Gnostic I know uses to say, no, we're just saying that we're in a state of being agnostic toward the proposition. We're not, it has nothing to do with knowing, nothing to do with certainty. But then you get things like the Dawkins scale that confuses everybody because they define things weird. Like strong atheist is now somebody who has 100% certainty that God doesn't exist. Nowhere else are you going to find that. It's this very stipulative definition that Dawkins uses. So I found out that when I use the word strong atheist, people are like, oh, well, now you're talking about certainty. Well, no. I just realized recently that is because they see these other stipulative definitions and they run with it going, oh, well, this is what these words mean. Well, first of all, again, words do not have intrinsic meaning. It's the concepts that are important. So when I try to explain these things, I want to explain them conceptually. And there's a lot of people in your live chat right now that are very good at explaining this conceptually. I mean, I would say the vast majority of atheists in the Great Debate community do agree with me on this. The vast majority by far. So,
well, so it's definitely an interesting conversation. I think it's one that a lot of people in the atheist community either haven't had or haven't had at a deep philosophical level. So I'm always open to
hours. What's funny is when I hear somebody say this is simple, atheism is simple, I automatically know that they've never even opened a book on the topic. When you're dealing with things like theory of knowledge, epistemic frameworks, epistemology, and justified true belief, and all these things, different things, it is a very complicated subject, to say the least. But it's a fascinating subject. That's what I find atheism and theism are very interesting as subjects. It's not as cut as dry as people think it is by any stretch of imagination.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I have to wrap this up here pretty quick. I've been on this for a couple hours, and I've been drinking enough that I have to make a bathroom run here pretty quick.
But at least the video and the audio worked on this one. So
yeah, for sure. I apologize to everyone who joined the first video and had it go out and the audio wasn't coming through. The next live stream that I do, I'll make sure to have that working ahead of time. And I thought I had checked everything, but apparently it wasn't coming through to you guys. But
people are asking in the live chat to continue this conversation. Please, yes, contact me. I'm more than willing to talk to anybody about this. I'm not going to be doing it on my channel any longer, I don't think, especially going into 2018, because it's kind of a dead issue. And I think
kind of beating a dead horse over there. You've talked about it so many times. Yeah,
exactly. And I don't want to be a one-hit thing. I mean, I have other things in my wheelhouse other than this. But on the other channel, the Great Debate Community channel, because it comes up, because there are some people that, like recently somebody put a video out on this that I want to address. It comes up every so often. It's just like any other topic. It comes up, but I don't want it to be something that defines my channel. But if people are interested in this, I'm happy to have a conversation with them. And it looks like your live chat is very receptive of that. That's great. But I will tell you, if I ever get a chance to talk to Alex about it, I'll be happy as hell. So maybe hopefully you and Rachel can arrange that. But I want to be off air. I don't really want that to be aired, if that's okay.
Yeah. Well, to anyone else, if there's any last questions for us, you can do a super chat the next minute or so. Otherwise, we are going to call it a night. I look forward to seeing everyone soon. Make sure that you go and subscribe to Steve McRae's channel. I'm going to be putting out a video on Holy Koolaid about, I want to finish up my psychic series. I have several more videos on that. The reason there's been kind of a delay in that regard is just a large part of it is finances wise. I think September was the first month where I didn't get any ad revenue whatsoever from YouTube. And it was August or September. And my patrons, because my reach has been limited, my patrons have been dropping off, and my YouTube videos haven't been getting out that far to attract new patrons. So I've been store. I've been setting up an emailing list. If you'd like to get on my emailing list, go to holykoolaid.com. You can sign up. I will not spam you like crazy. I will send out a few emails, and then it'll just be like, you know, periodically, kind of being a part of the community, knowing different updates, different resources for you. So that's landing soon. For now, I'm trying to engage with you guys more. So next month, I'm going to do another live patrons hangout where if you're a patron or a supporter, you can come on the show, talk with us, hang out in person, ask my guests questions. I'll try to bring interesting guests on always for you to talk to. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the future. So thanks for tuning in. Go subscribe to Steve McRae's channel, the Great Debate Community, and Steve McRae. He has two channels. And Steve, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, man. If I can, really quickly, thank you all for watching this. In the live chat, pretty much all of them said how much they enjoyed this, even with the technical difficulties, but they happen. So the fact that they stood in there for 3 hours and listened to this rather than go watch Star Wars says a lot. But Holy Koolaid, you know, I love your channel. I love that all the stuff you've been doing, the things you've started on Facebook. You have a great amount of vision, and I wish you the utmost success. I'm very happy to be associated with you and be a friend, and anything I could do to help further your agenda as well, just don't hesitate to ask. And thanks for the people that have watched. Come over and subscribe to me if you want to continue this. And we look forward to 2018. I'm expecting big things from a lot of people, you know, the Great Debate Community included. So
yeah, for sure. And real quick before people go, just to help the reach of this video, that this is to, you know, hopefully share some or spread some knowledge of Steve and what he does with the Great Debate Community, which I definitely want to support. If you can just give a like to this video, let's see if we can get it up to 50 likes before the end of the stream. So if you're
and share it. Don't forget, every time you share these videos, YouTube pays attention.
Yeah,
you know, they do trend it. So,
but yeah, if you can just hit that like real quick, get it to 50. And Steve, is there anything else you'd like to plug while you're here?
No, like I said, just, you know, be part of the conversation. Come to the Great Debate Community. You can find the link to join the Great Debate Community on my page. Like I said, we're going to be launching a podcast, and you guys are launching a podcast. There's a lot of big things in the works. We're going to all have great guests. I think 2018, all the channels that we've talked about so far, they're going to go skyrocketing, I hope. They're all great channels. I support all of them in my endeavors. So yeah, I'm really happy that people are combining together to have a common thing, which is to promote science and critical thinking, and not letting these labels get in the way of that.
Yeah,
because that's how labels are. They're just labels. They're just words, man. It's what you believe. It's what you do that matters.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully, you know, I think that there is a, you know, change is gradual, but there's definitely a push where we're seeing massive change take place at kind of a sub level. You know, it might not be on the media headlines, you know, because the media focuses on disasters and tragedies and stuff like that. But I do think that there's a lot more going on in terms of companies that have scientific breakthroughs and inventions and, you know, new scientific discoveries and, you know, ideas that are being put forth that are thought about at a deeper conceptual level that it's just, I'm encouraged, and I'm more than thrilled to be able to participate in this conversation and to be able to raise awareness about some of this stuff. And I owe it to you guys, to everyone who tunes in, who listens, who shares this content, who helps keep me accountable by responding to my stuff and, you know, letting me know if I veer off course or I get something wrong. Then, you know, I owe it to you guys, and, you know, I owe it to other members of the community like you, Steve, who are able to you know, create a whole community around having this conversation and this dialogue. So
thanks, man. It means a lot. And I'm very humble that you had me on today. So
awesome.
Thanks,
one more like, we're at 49 if we can get to 50.
Break out your sock accounts.
All right, yeah, share this, and you guys take care, and whatever you do, don't drink the Kool-Aid. We're still at 49. Oh, 50. There we go. All right, stop broadcast.